Chapter 1203. Puff, Puff. Su Fang's poison pattern talisman was created by the ghouls, so it contained the ghouls' poison. How powerful was that? The poisonous gas rolled and wrapped around the 5 demonic mountain cultivators. With a series of sizzling sounds, their bodies were instantly corroded into black blood and fell to the ground. All the black-clothed men were stunned by this sudden turn of events. Su Fang took the opportunity to use her fire-type divine ability to kill 2 more of them. Who are you? You must be an expert. Why are you willing to be King Jiang He's lackey? The leader of the demonic mountain cultivators shouted coldly. I'm Hualing, a disciple of the Poison Fire sect. I'm here to avenge my sect's destruction. Su Fang used her fire-type divine ability and swept towards the black-clothed men with scorching heat and poison. When she accepted the mission in the clear skies myriad scroll door, Su Fang had done some research on the divine billow immortal realm. There was indeed a poison fire sect in the divine billow immortal realm. Although they didn't have many disciples, they had many experts and could be considered a first-rate force in the divine billow immortal realm. The demonic Tao cultivators had incited a rebellion and destroyed many local sections. The Poison Fire sect was one of them. Su Fang wanted to enter the core of the divine billow nation and find out the purpose of the tranquil emperor's mansion. Thus, she decided to get close to King Jiang He and help him. Before she showed up, she had already thought of her identity and even deliberately concealed her divine ability and true chi. Damned remnants of the Poison Fire sect. One day we'll kill you all. The leader of the demonic mountain cultivators suddenly released his aura, forcing Su Fang and immortal master Lung Xian to retreat. Then, he fled with the remaining black-clothed men. May I ask who you are? Why did you help King Jiang He? Immortal master Lung Xian led the experts of the Tranquil Emperor's mansion to surround Su Fang. Each of them was full of vigilance, and some of them had reverence in their eyes. After all, Su Fang had just killed 5 demonic Tao experts in an instant. Su Fang had already prepared a response. I'm Hualing, a disciple of the Poison Fire sect. When the demonic Tao cultivators destroyed the Poison Fire sect, I was lucky enough to escape. I've always been thinking about revenge. This time, I accidentally discovered these demonic Tao cultivators and followed them here. Not to help King Jiang He. And then, after cupping his fist at immortal master Lung Xian, Su Fang turned around and was about to leave. Suddenly, the white-robed immortal's voice rang out. Wait! Su Fang took out a dozen poison runes and said coldly, What? I helped you out of kindness. Does the king of Jianghe still want to keep me here? The white-robed immortal slowly flew towards them. You have misunderstood, sir. The king of River, he has seen your astonishing abilities and has developed a fondness for talent, which is why he would like to invite you to become a guest cultivator at his residence. What do you think? My sect has been destroyed, and I have been used to being free these few years. I don't want to join any forces. Moreover, Jianghe King has many experts under his command. What benefits can I get if I become a guest of the king's mansion? Su Fang refused without hesitation, but his words revealed that he was tempted. Your Excellency's cultivation base may not be high, but your poison flame divine ability is astonishing. With such strength, Jiang He King will naturally give you the best treatment. This is a middle-grade Taoist tool. It can be considered as a token of appreciation from Jianghe King. As long as you perform meritorious deeds for His Highness in the future, you will be rewarded more. The white-robed immortal tossed a flying sword at Su Fang. It was indeed a middle-grade Taoist tool, although its quality was average. Such a Taoist tool was rare and precious in the divine billow immortal realm. Even so, Su Fang had piles of them in his storage ring and naturally did not care for it. Still, there was a look of delight in his eyes as he caught the flying sword with both hands and studied it carefully. When the conditions were right, success would follow naturally. Su Fang had become an elite under the king of River He's command. Meanwhile, the army was advancing towards the royal city. Su Fang stepped on his flying sword and flew low in the air, his full-fledged ability allowing him to hear every word of the conversation between the white-robed immortal and the king of River He. My lord, This person's background is unknown. Why have you taken him under your command? The king of River He's tone was not only courteous but also respectful. This person's ability is extraordinary, and his poison flame divine might is quite impressive. That matter requires such an elite. As for his identity, just give him some benefits and let him be cannon fodder. You don't have to care about his background. The white-robed immortal said coldly, "My lord is wise. That matter requires cannon fodder like him. King of River how's the planning for that matter going? We must speed up, or it will become more and more troublesome. If we attract the attention of the clear skies myriad scroll door, it will be even more troublesome. My lord, don't worry. The Crown Prince's birthday is in 3 months. At that time, we'll have someone sneak into the Crown Prince's residence and directly assassinate him. I'll naturally ascend the throne and control the entire divine Billow Empire. I'll definitely obtain that secret treasure from the Imperial Palace and give it to my lord. My lord, just what kind of secret treasure is that?" "Shut up. This is not something you can ask. Just focus on your task. When the time comes, the divine Billow Empire will be yours. Otherwise, you won't even be able to keep your life." Ning Emperor's residence, they were also here for the treasure. Su Fang's eyebrows furrowed. "Using me as cannon fodder to assassinate the Crown Prince? Interesting." Su Fang's lips curled into a cold smile. In the void not far from the divine Billow Immortal Realm, there was a space where turbulence shot out, forming a huge, invisible abyss. At the bottom of the abyss, the air currents and clouds rolled, forming a distorted spatial light scar. Even a peerless powerhouse at the level of a Grand Elder would be sucked into the outer space. Therefore, this place became a dangerous place. Cultivators who passed by here would stay far away. Whoosh, whoosh. 2 figures appeared in the turbulence. It was as if they were flying in the void, resisting the spatial turbulence outside of the domain's power. They didn't slow down until they reached the bottom of the abyss. If Su Fang was here, he would definitely recognize them. They were the 2 Grand Elders of Demonic Mountain, Sovereign Ba Mo and Sovereign Shui Sai. When they arrived at the terrifying spatial light scar, the 2 Grand Elders of Demonic Mountain directly stepped into it and disappeared. On the other side of the spatial light scar was a dark outer space. There was no spirit chi here. Countless dust particles were like star sand, possessing a terrifying power. Ruins and rubble were piled up into mountains. At the bottom of one of the mountains, there was a strangely shaped palace. Sovereign Ba Mo and Sovereign Shui Sai entered the palace. A gray-robed cultivator sat cross-legged in the center of the hall. His body emitted a strong aura of death, as if he was a dying man. More than a dozen black-robed men guarded the gray-robed cultivator. They didn't leak any aura. Each of these black-robed men was no weaker than Sovereign Ba Mo and Sovereign Shui Sai. Sovereign Ba Mo and Sovereign Shui Sai respectfully knelt before the gray-robed cultivator. "Greetings, Lord." Rustle. The gray-robed cultivator's clothes turned into ashes. Then, his skin, flesh, and bones turned into ashes and scattered as if they were weathered. A man was revealed. This man's skin was abnormally white. He was as beautiful as a woman. His hair was messy, and his eyebrows were as sharp as swords. It turned out that he was a demon powerhouse. He used the bodies of powerful human cultivators to cultivate. Step by step, he possessed and devoured the bodies of righteous cultivators. We've captured a total of 16 righteous cultivators and offered them to Lord. Sovereign Ba Mo's palm shot out a beam of demonic light, which swept up more than a dozen women. These women were all cultivators. From their clothes, one could tell that they came from different forces. Among them were the Clear Sky Myriad Scroll Door, Brahma Meditation Sect, Huyin, Shinrikyo, and disciples of forces like the Heavenly Tao White Sun Sect. Each of them had reached the level of a special disciple. Sovereign Shui Sai also captured more than 100 cultivators. There were both men and women. Apparently, some of them were elders of sections. The demon man raised his eyebrows slightly and suddenly said, "The 4th illusory sun rose into the sky. Evil chi filled the world. This is the opportunity for us demons to sweep across the great immortal world. In the past few years, your demonic mountain has contributed a lot. You've swallowed up hundreds of sects and clans, large and small, and captured countless female cultivators of the righteous Tao. I'll remember all of these contributions to the demonic mountain. When the devil race occupies this celestial realm, the demonic mountain will become the #1 sect, and the two of you will also be heavily rewarded. Sovereign Mo and Sovereign Shui Sai hurriedly bowed. They were very unhappy. This time, I summoned you here for the secret treasure of the Divine Waves Imperial family. I'll go to the God Burial Enclosure in a few days. Before I return, I want to see the secret treasure. Otherwise, the demon powerhouse's voice suddenly turned cold. Yes, just as the demon powerhouse was giving orders to the two big shots of the celestial demon mountain, a figure suddenly leaped through the air and arrived outside the chaotic abyss of the extraterrestrial space. It was a female cultivator. She wore a green robe and a black shawl. Her face was covered by a white, jade-like mask, and her eyes were cold. Her aura disappeared here. Could it be that the missing sect disciples were taken into the abyss? This woman was Fairy Xuanxin. After she accepted the mission of tracking down the missing female disciples in the clear sky myriad scroll door, she finally found some clues in the past few years and followed the aura all the way here. After thinking for a long time, Fairy Xuanxin hid in a quicksand-like nebula not far away. There might be a stronghold of Devil Path cultivators in the abyss, but she didn't dare to rush in by herself. The other party was too strong, so she could only wait outside. Those Devil Path cultivators would come out sooner or later. She would capture a devil and ask for help from her sect. Divine Waves Imperial City. After Su Fong followed King Jiang to the Imperial City, he entered the Imperial Palace, which was filled with many palaces and pavilions. He was settled in a remote palace in the Imperial Palace. After creating a barrier, he entered the crucible transformation world. How's Yin Mo? He still won't submit to me. Su Fong suddenly said. The big monk passed through the formation and arrived in front of Su Fong. He threw the already deformed Yin Mo at Su Fong's feet. Yin Mo was sealed and shackled. After being tortured by the big monk for several years, he only had half his life left. The big monk said angrily, "This man is like a stone in a latrine, smelly and hard. You might as well kill him." Yin Mo said arrogantly, "A mere profound immortal wants me to submit to the Emperor Ning's mansion and dominate the immortal AO great world. You even dare to oppose the Emperor Ning's mansion. There's no need for the Supreme Emperor Ning to get into action. Any expert of the Emperor Ning's mansion can crush you. I advise you to let me go quickly, then offer the inheritance of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor to the Emperor Ning's mansion. Maybe you'll be able to keep your life." The Vermilion Emperor laughed coldly. "Big monk, you're really useless. Master, give this brat to me. I guarantee I'll let him know what a bad life is better than a good death. Then I'll give him to you to deal with. It doesn't matter if he doesn't submit. He's just a dead dog. I'll kill him and feed him to you. Don't worry, Master. I guarantee I'll make this brat submit obediently in a few days." The Vermilion Emperor watched Su Fong leave, then took an embarrassed look at Yin Mo. The latter, however, looked like he would rather die than submit. 3 days later, the Vermilion Emperor's complacent voice came from inside his body. "Master, Yin Mo has already decided to submit." Su Fong was flabbergasted. This Vermilion Emperor really has some tricks up his sleeve. Inside the crucible transformation world, inside the formation, Yin Mo was completely covered in blood. More than half of his flesh had been cut off. Bones could even be seen in some places. He looked extremely frightening. The Vermilion Emperor, however, had a complacent expression on his face. Standing beside him was Guege, who looked as terrifying as a gorilla, staring at Yin Mo with dense demonic aura. "I submit." Yin Mo knelt down on the ground and said in a sobbing voice. He was no longer that expert of the Emperor Ning's mansion who would rather die than submit a few days ago. Su Fong asked the Vermilion Emperor in puzzlement, "What method did you use to make him submit?" The author's words, The last closed beta test of Miracle, also known as Heaven-Defying Venerable Immortals mobile game, has begun. On February 19th, the mobile game will be officially released. The address, I don't know if you can copy it. Chapter 1204. The Vermilion Emperor laughs, strangely. I cut off his flesh bit by bit and let the blood-eating ghost devour it bit by bit. This brat was scared out of his wits when he saw his flesh being devoured. He even dared to refuse to submit to the great monk. You can deceive people, but you're far worse than me when it comes to playing tricks on people. Hearing this, Su Fang's whole body feels cold. This Vermilion Emperor is really ruthless. In the future, he will be in charge of such matters. Buzz Su Fang condenses a sealing plan in his hand and sends a sealing ray into Yen Mo's mind. Yen Mo, let me ask you, what kind of secret treasure did the Tranquility Emperor's mansion send people to infiltrate the Shenlan immortal world for? Su Fang says in a cold voice. The Overlord's aura he had in the lower world is now very different from just now. Yen Mo is still hesitating. The Vermilion Emperor laughs coldly on one side again. Yen Mo immediately shivers all over and his face turns deathly pale. He hurriedly replies, 100,000 years ago, the Tranquility Emperor's mansion secretly infiltrated the Shenlan immortal world and supported its forces. In recent years, the Jianghe King has been vigorously supporting the Tranquility Emperor's mansion. The Shenlan immortal world is the territory of the Clear Sky Myriad Rolling Door. Looks like the Tranquility Emperor's mansion has long wanted to do something to the Clear Sky Myriad Rolling Door. Yen Mo, go on. Yen Mo does not dare to go against Su Fang's will, so he tells him everything he knows like pouring beans out of a bamboo tube. Even though the Tranquility Emperor's mansion has infiltrated the Shenlan immortal world, they didn't pay much attention to it. It was not until a few years ago that a spy of the Tranquility Emperor's mansion discovered an astonishing secret of the Shenlan immortal world that the Tranquility Emperor's mansion attached great importance to it and continuously sent a large number of experts into the Shenlan immortal world. The Shenlan immortal world has a secret treasure called the Demon Sealing Emperor's Heavenly Seal, which has been passed down from generation to generation as the Imperial Jade Seal. The Demon Sealing Emperor's Heavenly Seal suddenly reacted on the day the heaven and earth changed and the fourth sun rose. The Emperor found some clues in the ancient records of the Imperial family. It turns out the Imperial family of the Shenlan immortal world is the descendants of an ancient clan. The clan left them in the Shenlan immortal domain to guard a secret Taoist rite of the clan. The Demon Sealing Emperor's Heavenly Seal is the treasure that opens the clan rite of the clan. Because too much time had passed, the Divine Water Nation had also experienced countless historical changes, not to mention the location of the secret Dao ground. Even the mission of the Divine Water Nation's Imperial clan had been gradually forgotten. Su Fang was suddenly energized, his heart pounding. A dojo left behind by an ancient cultivation force would have an amazing heritage. Even if it wasn't as amazing as the Yellow Spring Emperor's dojo, it wouldn't be much different. Su Fang asked again, where is the ancient Taoist rite? Yen Mo replied, I've heard Sir Lin Yihan mention it once. It's in a dangerous place called the God Burying Enclosure, but I don't know its exact location. Law's voice suddenly came from the depths of his body. There are many suspicious points about this matter. This immortal domain is considered a remote and desolate place in the great world. Why would the ancient family leave their inheritance here and even leave their people to guard it? Su Fang thought for a while and responded, Luo, you're right. However, whether it's true or not, we have to find a way to get the Demon Sealing Emperor's Heaven Seal and go to the God Burying Enclosure. At least, we can't let Emperor Ning's mansion get away with it. Law reminded him, this matter also involves Demonic Mountain. I'm afraid it's not that simple. I understand. There are still many things that Su Fang did not understand. For example, given Emperor Ning's mansion's great power, it should have been easy for them to directly seize the Demon Sealing Emperor's Heaven Seal. Why did they have to go through so much trouble to support King Jianghe? They even recruited experts to assassinate the Crown Prince. It's just that he could not get an answer from Yen Mo. He had only heard about it from hearsay and had never been to the Shenlong immortal domain before. What was pleasantly surprised was that from Yanemo, Su Fong has obtained a technique that he has been yearning for even in his dream. Tyrannical Emperor's Heaven Technique. This is a technique that cultivates the way of the Emperor. Moreover, it is the main technique of the experts of Emperor Ning's mansion and is much more powerful than the Holy Emperor Divine Origin Scripture. This technique has something in common with the Holy Emperor Divine Origin Scripture in that it has the body of an emperor. However, after ascending to the great immortal domain and becoming a spirit immortal, the Holy Emperor Divine Origin Scripture could no longer give Su Fong much power of an emperor. The lower the level of this technique, the more it was eliminated. Now that he finally got it, and it came from Emperor Ning's mansion, Su Fong is very happy. Su Fong inquired about it. It turns out that the Holy Emperor Divine Origin Scripture is derived from the tyrannical emperor soaring the heavens technique. It is a simplified version of the latter and is very shallow. Even a shallow and simple technique can shake the universe in the mortal world. It is easy to imagine how powerful the tyrannical emperor soaring the heavens technique is. With the tyrannical emperor soaring the heavens technique, he can continue to cultivate the way of the emperor. When he reaches the peak of the way of the emperor, he will be able to control a large area of the immortal world. Master, the tyrannical emperor soaring the heavens technique that I've been cultivating is only the outer part of the technique. The inner part is controlled by Emperor Ning himself. Only his direct descendants and experts who have made great contributions to Emperor Ning's mansion can cultivate it, such as Crown Prince Ziwei and Lin Yihan. I've also heard that the tyrannical emperor soaring the heavens technique is somewhat incomplete. Even Emperor Ning himself did not have a complete technique. Even without a complete technique, Emperor Ning was already so powerful. If he had a complete technique, how powerful would he be? I've heard that when the tyrannical emperor soaring the heavens technique is practiced to the extreme, the supreme aura of the emperor will be able to surpass the way of the heaven and make it yield. Surpass the way of the heaven. Su Fong was dumbfounded. At this time, Luo spoke faintly from the blood jade. Cultivators cultivate to get rid of the shackles of fate. This is against the way of the heaven, which is the so-called cultivation against the way of the heaven. Surpassing the heavens technique is also a famous technique of the way of the emperor in ancient times. Unfortunately, it is incomplete. It may have been lost in the great war of immortals and demons in ancient times. If you have a chance to get the inner part of this technique, or even gather the complete technique in the immortal and demon continent, this technique will not be weaker than the other great techniques that you're cultivating now. Even Luo said that this technique is good, then it must be very good. Unfortunately, I can only cultivate the outer part of the tyrannical emperor soaring the heavens technique now. Then I'll seal Yin Mo in the crucible transformation array. I don't dare to completely trust this expert of Emperor Ning's mansion now. I can't release him yet. If the identity of Ghostface Rakshasa is exposed, Su Fong's scalp will be numb just by thinking about the consequences. In the inner world of the crucible transformation array, Su Fong turned into blood water. He swallowed a lot of resources and began to cultivate the yellow spring blood sea. He also cultivated the 9 suns, 9 transformations, and the illusory fire cloud. At the same time, he separated a young immortal to explore and comprehend the tyrannical emperor soaring the heavens technique. Cultivation is so boring. Although Su Fong has all kinds of extraordinary abilities, he still needs to constantly consolidate them. Only in this way can he go higher and further on the path of cultivation. Compared to the secret realms of the constellation of 9 heavens and the clear sky myriad scroll gate, the natural spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the divine billow immortal world is a lot worse. However, Su Fong has amazing cultivation resources to cultivate, so he doesn't care about this. Since the 4th sun rose, the speed of cultivating the 9 suns, 9 transformations has more than doubled. He is not far from the birth of the 24th Yang Meridian. 3 months later, it turns out that immortal master Lung Xian's primordial spirit transmitted. Hualing, come to the palace. His Highness has important arrangements. Is Jianghe King ready to make a move on the crown prince? Su Fong sneered, and his eyes flashed with a fierce light. These days, Su Fong has let his second primordial spirit leave his body and explore the divine Billow Kingdom's royal city. He inquired about a lot of information. It turns out that 3 years ago, not long after the demonic cultivators provoked a rebellion in the divine Billow Nation, the emperor mysteriously disappeared and his whereabouts were unknown. At this time, the person in charge of the divine Billow Nation was the crown prince. However, the crown prince has not yet ascended the throne because the emperor disappeared, not died. 3 years must pass before the crown prince can ascend the throne and officially become the new sovereign of the divine Billow Nation. Under the support of the tranquil emperor mansion, Jianghe King wants to usurp the throne, so he must kill the crown prince before he ascends the throne. As for why the tranquil emperor mansion must support Jianghe King to become the emperor, perhaps they have the intention of annexing the divine Billow immortal world. However, Su Fong has no way to know the bigger intention. Whoosh, under the guidance of an expert of the king's mansion, Su Fong passed through layers of array barriers and arrived at the palace's main hall. Inside the main hall, Jianghe King sat in the high position with a majestic and domineering aura, which made him look like an emperor. Immortal Master Lung Xin stood beside Jianghe King, casually wearing a simple robe. His aura was empty, and it was obvious that he deliberately suppressed the aura of the tranquil emperor mansion. There were more than 100 cultivators standing below, and the weakest of them was at the mystic immortal realm. There were also a few feather immortal realm cultivators. This force was nothing in the clear sky myriad scroll door, but in the divine Billow immortal world, it was very shocking. Even the first-rate sects and clans in the divine Billow immortal world were not as strong as this. Buzz, his perfected stage ability, sensed that these cultivators' auras were chaotic, and they all had the aura of the divine Billow immortal world. Obviously, they were all local cultivators who were recruited by Jianghe King. Everyone, I have gathered you here to announce an important matter. Jianghe King stood up and glanced at the people below. The crown prince is tyrannical, and the people are angry. The divine Billow Nation is in danger and facing destruction. Therefore, this king has decided to kill the crown prince and restore the divine Billow Nation. Jianghe King's domineering voice echoed in the main hall. Su Fong sneered in his heart. As expected, tomorrow is the crown prince's birthday. This king has decided to send you to sneak into the palace and assassinate the crown prince. Buzz, many cultivators discussed in low voices, and most of them looked reluctant. Please rest assured, this king will not let you take the risk for nothing. Before the operation, this king will reward each of you with a peak mid-grade Dao artifact. After the operation, each of you will receive a high-grade Dao artifact. This king also solemnly promises that as long as this king ascends the throne, all of you will be meritorious officials of the divine Billow Nation. You will enjoy all kinds of wealth and cultivation resources. Under Jianghe King's persuasion, many people were tempted. A high-grade Dao artifact could be considered a treasure in the divine Billow immortal world, not to mention the status in the future. However, someone was very clear-headed. No matter how good the treasures and status are, you need to be alive to enjoy them. Sorry, I don't want to be cannon fodder in the palace. Please find someone else. Whoosh! Whoosh! 3 cultivators flew out of the hall. Unexpectedly, swoosh! Swoosh! 3 sharp and cold sword intents suddenly swept toward them. They had no power to resist at all and were cut in half by the sword intents. A white-robed immortal appeared at the entrance of the palace. These 3 know about the king's important matter and immediately plan to leave. They must be the crown prince's spies. Does anyone else want to leave? The cultivators in the hall were all trembling, and no one dared to disagree. Very well, since no one objects, prepare to take action tomorrow. Each of you will take a blood spirit pill and disguise yourselves as blood pigs. Tonight, we will sneak into the palace. Jianghe King waved his hand, and immediately, experts from his mansion appeared and gave each cultivator a blood-red pill. Is the blood spirit pill A poisonous pill? What is a blood pig? Su Fong raised his eyebrows. Su Fong learned about the blood spirit pill's effect from the cultivators next to him. He also knew what a blood pig was. The blood spirit pill was not a poisonous pill. After taking it, it could completely burn the body's chi, blood, and cultivation, awakening the cultivator's physical body and cultivation potential. After taking the blood spirit pill, the cultivator would become muddle-headed and would only know how to eat, drink, and sleep all day, no different from pig. This kind of person was the blood pig that Jiang He mentioned. As for the use of blood pigs, they were eaten by some experts as food and were very helpful in improving cultivation. The royal family and nobles of the divine Billow Nation treated them as a delicacy and were very popular. Chapter 1205. Eating cultivators like pigs and dogs. The divine water nation is so cruel that it will be destroyed sooner or later. The crown prince of the divine water nation deserves to die. This King Jiang, he actually dared to treat me, Su Fong, as a blood pig and offer it to the crown prince to enjoy. You deserve to die too. Su Fong's scalp tingled, and his heart was filled with coldness and murderous intent. The rest of the cultivators were trembling, with pale faces too. Jiang He said in a majestic voice, "Don't worry. This king sent you to the palace to assassinate the cruel crown prince, not to treat you like pigs. After you sneak into the palace, someone will give you the antidote. When the crown prince's birthday banquet begins and you are sent to the palace, you can kill the crown prince in one fell swoop. At the same time, this king will attack the palace. Everything is settled." Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, but no one took the blood spirit pill first. "What? Do you need this king to find someone to feed you?" Jiang He said coldly. Under the oppressive gaze of the white-robed immortal from Tranquility Emperor's mansion and the other masters, everyone had to take the blood spirit pill. Su Fong swallowed the pill without hesitation. As soon as the pill entered his mouth, he felt as if a stream of lava was rolling down his throat. Then it swept through every corner of his body. Even his mind was burning and became blurry. Su Fong's body had reached the perfection stage, and he also had the Fire Cloud Emperor body, Underworld Golden body, Black Lotus True body, and other abilities. How could a mere blood spirit pill affect him? Although the blood spirit pill had some effect on his body, it was not to the extent of burning his chi and blood. It just made him feel a little uncomfortable, and it would not affect his mind. However, he still urged his chi and blood to look like he had taken the blood spirit pill. Then, like the other cultivators, he became delirious. An hour later, Su Fong and the other cultivators were put into wooden boxes like coffins. The wooden boxes were filled with spirit liquids refined from various medicinal herbs. Obviously, they were used to soak the pigs. After closing the lid of the wooden boxes and sealing them properly, an expert from the prince's mansion put all the wooden boxes into a gourd-shaped Tao artifact space and was taken towards the imperial palace. Su Fong lay in the wooden box and unceremoniously swallowed all the spiritual liquid inside. Then he activated his cultivation technique and refined the blood spirit pill and spiritual liquid into energy. After an unknown period of time, the wooden box was taken out of the Tao artifact space and placed on the ground. After waiting for a long time, there was still no movement. Su Fong used the underworld blood sea and turned it into a blood ribbon, easily drilling out of the wooden box's seal. As it turned out, this was the imperial kitchen of the Divine Wave Nation's imperial palace. It was a storeroom where the ingredients were stored. All kinds of strange materials that were full of spiritual energy, as well as all kinds of immortal brews, almost filled the entire warehouse. Su Fong was also not polite, as he picked out the most precious materials and started stuffing them into the crucible transformation space. The piles of materials in the storehouse were reduced by more than half before he finally stopped. Peeling off a young immortal, he entered the crucible transformation space and gathered the experts and Big Goblin under him, eating heartily. Especially the great monk, his hands and feet were faster than the Big Goblin, like the Vermilion Emperor. No wonder he could grow up to be so fat. Buzz. Su Fong released his perfection stage ability to sense the entire Imperial Palace. The Imperial Palace of the Divine Wave Nation was as big as the clear sky's myriad scroll door. Su Fong's perfection stage ability could now sense a range of nearly 50 miles, but he could not see the entire Imperial Palace. From this, one could see how big the Imperial Palace was. The Imperial Palace was vast and magnificent, shining brightly in the immortal Qi, giving off a charming and gentle scenery. There were also layers of array formations and enchantments protecting it, as well as experts and soldiers. Su Fong even sensed the aura of experts in the ascending feather immortal realm. According to the information obtained from the Clear Sky's Myriad Scroll Door, the strongest expert in the entire Divine Wave immortal world was only in the feather immortal realm. But now, so many experts had emerged, it was really strange. Su Fong found an opportunity to knock out a palace attendant who was alone in the Calder transformation world and effortlessly asked for the location of the banquet hall. Su Fong concealed his presence and snuck into the banquet hall. He then summoned Black Ridge Monster King and swallowed him whole. He then cast the Heavenly Secret Life, Shrinking Art, inside Black Ridge Monster King's body. Together with the Earth Element Godly Aura, Su Fong allowed Black Ridge Monster King's aura to fuse with the essence of the earth around him before fusing it into the stone wall decorations. It turned out that Su Fong wanted to use the Jianghe King's assassination to see the details of the Divine Wave Nation's Crown Prince. If the Crown Prince did not have formidable strength, he would have been killed by the experts of the Devil Path and the Tranquil Emperor's Mansion. It was impossible for him to live until now. A day passed in a blink of an eye. The Divine Wave Nation's nobles and ministers entered the palace early, and cultivators from various forces came to participate in the birthday banquet. The Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation had another identity, and that was the Realm Lord of the Divine Wave Immortal Realm. Various forces could ignore the Emperor, but they did not dare to ignore the Realm Lord. After all, the Divine Wave Immortal Realm was backed by the Clear Sky, Thousand Scrolls Door. The Crown Prince was about to ascend the throne and inherit the throne and the position of Realm Lord. Naturally, they had to attend his birthday banquet and prepare a generous gift. Inside and outside the palace, there was a festive atmosphere, and it was very lively. Su Fong, on the other hand, was hiding within the stone wall and watching coldly from the sidelines. He was like an eagle in the sky looking down at the ground and watching the ants bustling about and fighting for food. When the Crown Prince appeared, Su Fong released the power of the Great Perfection Realm, but the result was disappointing. The Crown Prince of the Divine Wave Nation looked sickly and did not have the slightest aura. Moreover, his cultivation realm was only in the heavenly immortal realm. Behind him, there were two experts at the peak of the heavenly immortal realm who looked cold. When the Crown Prince sat on the main seat, the Jianghe King brought the white-robed immortal to the main hall. However, the white-robed immortal changed his clothes to the guard of the king's mansion. The banquet began. The ministers and cultivators from various forces presented congratulatory gifts to the Crown Prince. Even the Jianghe King gave a big gift and a lot of flattery at the same time. Finally, the banquet began. Delicacies and immortal brews that made the cultivators drool were served on the tables in front of the guests. The wooden box containing the bloody pig was carried into the palace. Rumble. There was a loud noise outside the palace. Even the banquet hall shook. The weaker ministers and princes were caught off guard and fell to the ground. Crack! Cracks appeared on the barrier above the palace, and it was about to shatter. No one knew where this powerful enemy came from, but he was able to shake the palace's defense. Screams came from outside. A peerless expert of the demon path is attacking the palace. There was chaos inside and outside the palace. Buzz! The Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique actually reacted. The Tao runes from the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique surged out from the depths of his divine aperture. Who is this person? From the Tao runes, Su Fong sensed that the aura did not come from the celestial demon mountain, but from Emperor Ning's mansion. Moreover, the owner of this aura was no stranger to Su Fong. It was a peerless expert in the territory controlled by Emperor Ning's mansion. Lin Ihan Wush. A figure came out from the depths of the palace. It was an old man wearing a Taoist robe with billowing Taoist patterns. He exuded an otherworldly aura. Sensing the old man's cultivation, he was probably a peerless expert of the world immortal realm who had the strength of a grand elder. There are indeed experts hidden in the palace. Su Fang was not surprised at all. The old man came out of the palace's barrier and released his aura. He fought with Lin Yihan, who was disguised as a demon path expert, causing a big explosion that made the entire monarch city tremble. Inside the palace, the cultivators under the Jianghe king, who were disguised as bloody pigs, suddenly broke out of the box. It turned out that the Jianghe king had already asked the spies lurking in the palace to take the antidote of the blood spirit pill for these cultivators and unlock the seal on the wooden box. Magic treasures, runes, and all kinds of supernatural powers burst out with astonishing aura and shrouded the crown prince like a wave. The two guards beside the crown prince activated their Tao artifacts and formed a defense that only lasted for a moment before it was broken. The attack was too fierce. Although the two guards' strength was not bad, it was difficult for them to withstand the attacks of hundreds of cultivators. However, they managed to resolve this wave of attack. The palace guards inside and outside the main hall finally reacted and launched a fierce attack on the assassins. The main hall was in a mess. No one knew how many nobles, ministers, and cultivators from various forces were killed. The hall was filled with corpses. It was a tragic scene. The crown prince was protected by two experts and retreated out of the main hall. At this moment, the white-robed immortal who was disguised as a guard beside the Jianghe king suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a flying sword. It released a cold and sharp sword intent and attacked the crown prince. The sword slashed down. Blood splattered, and a head suddenly flew. Su Fang, who was hiding in the stone wall, was stunned. The crown prince was killed so easily. The Jianghe king laughed loudly. He was very proud and domineering, as if he had already become the supreme of the divine wave nation. Unexpectedly, the white-robed immortal's body trembled deeply. His gaze froze as if he was shackled by some force. The Jianghe king followed the white-robed immortal's gaze and saw the crown prince's head. The eyes of the head were bleeding and the muscles on the face were twitching. Moreover, when the eyes of the white-robed immortal and River King met with the eyes of the head, a gray twisted light strangely flashed out of the eyeballs. With endless yang immortal divine might, the two immortals' young immortals were killed and the divine aperture ocean was destroyed. What was even more unexpected? Whoosh! The crown prince's head suddenly flew up and stuck to his body. Night Demon, the lord of the dark world, Su Fang, who was hiding in the stone wall, almost screamed out loud. All the hair on his body was trembling. The experts inside Su Fang's body, Mao Chong and the big goblin Tung Ba, also trembled. In the nether ruins, they saw with their own eyes how terrifying the puppets controlled by Night Demon were. Night Demon that was an existence that even Luo was nervous about. Did the mysterious and terrifying lord of the dark world leave the nether ruins and come to the great immortal world? Did Night Demon control the crown prince for the demon sealing Emperor Heavenly Seal? If Night Demon continues to control humans and take over bodies, it will continue to expand its power. At this moment, Su Fang's heart felt like it was frozen and trembling. The fourth sun rose. Not only did the big goblin and the devil come out, even Night Demon came out to cause trouble. It seemed like a calamity that would sweep across the great immortal world was coming. Su Fang felt bitter in his heart. The normal mission of the Clear Skies Thousand Scroll Door has become 10 times, 100 times more difficult than the most difficult mission. But thinking about it, he was a bit expectant. The second primordial spirit fused with 5 runes and became so strong. It can fight against a supreme, immortal emperor expert. If it fuses with a few more, Luo suddenly said, "Your idea is good, although it's dangerous this time. It's a heaven-sent opportunity to continue strengthening your second primordial spirit. You have to quickly strengthen your second primordial spirit before Night Demon sweeps across the immortal world. Otherwise, you won't be able to resist Night Demon." If the Lord of the Dark Night is in the divine water nation, he won't let me go. I guess Night Demon didn't leave the nether ruins. At most, he sent some puppets into the divine water nation and then took over the crown prince's body. Otherwise, the entire divine water immortal world would have been the Lord of the Dark Nights. There wouldn't be a place for the tranquil emperor residents and the demon Tao cultivators. Regardless of whether Luo's judgment was right or not, Su Fong had to continue staying in the palace to find out the truth. Chapter 1206. The crown prince was suddenly resurrected. The white-robed deity and Jianghe king were accidentally killed. The assassins who sneaked into the hall lost their will to fight. Some were killed, while the others surrendered. The carefully planned assassination of Emperor Ning's mansion failed just like that. The nobles and ministers of the Divine Water Nation who attended the Crown Prince's birthday banquet also suffered heavy casualties. Those who survived were all scared out of their wits. In order to prevent the remnants of Jianghe King from causing trouble, no one is allowed to leave the palace. The coronation ceremony will be held in a month. The Crown Prince's voice was majestic and domineering. He was no longer the weakling he usually was. Under the protection of the guards, the Crown Prince left in embarrassment. The nobles and ministers who were scared half to death were also escorted out of the palace. Late at night, the Wuling Goblin slid down the stone wall of the palace. It turned into a stone belt that had the same color and presence as the palace floor. Under the cover of the night, it crept toward the center of the palace. The closer it got to the center of the palace, the more spacious and densely packed the buildings were. The guards were tighter, and there were more and more masters. When it came to a majestic palace that was guarded by layers of palace guards and enchantments, the Wuling Goblin blended into the bluestone on the ground and lurked. Buzz! Su Fongda scanned the palace with his full power. There were 3 figures in the palace. One of them was the Crown Prince. The other was a peerless master who wore a robe with billowing Tao patterns. He was the Divine Water Nation's national master, but he must be a puppet controlled by Yi Mei. The last one was an old man who was dressed as a palace attendant. The old attendant exuded a clear, murderous aura. Judging from the vast aura, this person's cultivation was even stronger than the imperial advisor who had fought with Lin Yihan during the day. If he was in the clear sky, Thousand Scrolls door, he would not be an ordinary great elder, but a peerless great elder. When Su Fong's sensing power swept over the old attendant, the latter seemed to sense it. His eyes pierced through the night like 2 bolts of thunder. Su Fong's scalp tingled. He activated the life, shrinking art, and the earth element to conceal the Wuling Goblin's presence. Fortunately, the old attendant looked away, no longer paying attention to the outside world. What a powerful immortal emperor. Such a character is qualified to lead a first-rate sect or even dominate a part of the immortal world. Yi Mei is actually able to control such a supreme expert. This is too terrifying. Su Fong heaved a sigh of relief, but his heart was still pounding. Afraid that his gaze would alert the peerless, immortal emperor again, Su Fong only dared to use his perfect hearing to listen to the movements in the hall. Although we foiled the plot of Emperor Ning's mansion today, we exposed ourselves in front of all the officials. What should we do next? The old eunuch said in a gloomy voice, full of oppression and deterrence. The Crown Prince said hurriedly, I didn't know that the Prince Ning's mansion would cooperate with us from the inside. The cultivation of this body I've been living in is too weak to exert my strength. That's why I was careless and exposed. Now that the officials are suspicious, we can only ascend the throne in advance. The old eunuch said unhappily, if we act so hastily, what if we can't obtain the power of faith of the people and obtain the approval of the divine wave immortal world? Wouldn't that ruin our plan? The Crown Prince's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. That old emperor of the divine wave nation is truly hateful. If he hadn't escaped into the imperial mausoleum with the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal, we wouldn't have had to go through so much trouble. My lord, why don't you use your supreme divine ability to directly break the seal outside the imperial mausoleum? Kill your way into the mausoleum, find the old emperor, and obtain the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal? The imperial preceptor said coldly, If we could do that, why would we waste so much time and effort to break the seal outside the Divine Wave Nation's imperial mausoleum? Other than the Emperor approved by the Divine Wave immortal world, no one else can enter. The seal is one with the Divine Wave immortal world. Even with my Lord's supreme divine power, it would take many years to break the seal. Even if you forcefully break it, it would definitely attract the experts of the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate. Who knows how much trouble that would bring? It might even affect Master's plan to return. Su Fangda's perfect hearing clearly heard the three's conversation. He suddenly understood. It turned out that the Divine Wave Nation's Emperor had gone missing because he sensed that something was wrong and fled into the Imperial Mausoleum. He also understood that Night Demon and Tranquility Emperor's mansion had spent so much effort to ascend the throne to gain the approval of the Divine Wave, Immortal World's will. They wanted to capture the Divine Wave Nation's Emperor through the seal outside the Imperial Mausoleum. Lost-eyed from the blood jade inside Su Fang's body, the fourth sun rose into the sky. Demons and devils came out of nowhere. Even the Night Demon clan came out. Su Fang was also shocked. In the near future, who knows how many human cultivators will have their primordial spirits wiped out by Night Demon and then be controlled as puppets. Law reminded him, Su Fang, make yourself stronger as soon as possible. Otherwise, not to mention sweeping across the immortal realm, even surviving the catastrophe will be difficult. Su Fang was eager to become stronger. Inside the main hall, sealed in the God Burial enclosure, is the body of a supreme expert above Immortal Emperor Yu. Only the Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal can open the seal. Master will leave the nether ruins in the future with the intention of seizing the body of that supreme expert and then sweeping across the immortal realm. As the Crown Prince, you will ascend the throne 1 month later. If you can't gain the faith of the people and the approval of the Divine Wave Immortal World, you can't enter the Imperial Mausoleum to get the Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal, causing Master to fail at the last minute. Not only you, but also me, the Night Demon clan, will be wiped out by Master. The old servant said coldly, like shackles of divine power, making the Crown Prince and the State Preceptor tremble. Su Fang inside Wooling Goblin was also shocked and surprised. Unexpectedly, the palace servant turned out to be a Night Demon clan member with such a big plan. What was more unexpected was that the body of a supreme expert like Immortal Emperor Yu was sealed in the God Burial enclosure, Tranquility Emperor's mansion, and the Heavenly Tao Immortal World, because they had Immortal Emperor powerhouses, could surpass the Clear Sky Myriad Scroll Gate and the Star Palace. Immortal Emperor Yu. He didn't dare to think about it, not at all. If the second primordial spirit seized this body, wouldn't it have the supreme strength of Immortal Emperor Yu? Su Fang's heart was burning with passion. Luo said from inside his body, yes, if it is as the Night Demon said, there is such a powerful body in the God Burial enclosure, with the strength of the second primordial spirit, it can completely seize this body. In this immortal realm, not to mention self-protection, it is possible to become an overlord. Su Fang secretly clenched his fists. When I get the Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal, the body in the God Burial enclosure will belong to me, Su Fang. Suddenly, a supreme gray distorted light flashed out of his eyes, turning into endless gray divine power, as vast as the ocean, and directly rushed out of the palace more than 70 feet away. It turned out that Su Fang's mind was shaken, and a trace of fluctuation appeared in the life-shrinking technique, which was immediately detected by the old servant, who released the supreme yang immortal divine power to kill Wooling Goblin and Su Fang inside his body. Wooling Goblin revealed his true body, stunned like a piece of wood, his eyes trembling deeply. Su Fang felt like he was facing a turbulent wave that was about to swallow him. This expert who used the identity of a palace servant was not a puppet controlled by the Lord of the Dark Night, but a member of the Night Demon race. Although the power of his primordial spirit was not as strong as the Lord of the Dark Night, he was still in existence comparable to a supreme immortal emperor. Second primordial spirit, heavenly demon blood plate. Su Fong was already experienced in dealing with the night demon's primordial spirit attack. Without hesitation, he attacked with his second primordial spirit, activating the heavenly demon blood plate's divine power. Rumble, the attack on Su Fong's primordial spirit shattered, setting off a burst of primordial spirit chi aura. Su Fong waved his hand and pulled Wooling Goblin into his body. Then, a pair of fire cloud wings appeared on his back, and he used the fire cloud steps to escape the palace like a meteor. To be able to shatter my primordial spirit attack, it's rare among human cultivators. His movement technique is also extraordinary. However, his cultivation is just an ant. Yi Shi-san, bring a few people to capture this human ant. Don't let him escape. The night demon race expert looked in the direction Su Fong had escaped. Surprise flashed in his deep eyes, followed by disdain. Whoosh! The Imperial advisor took a step forward, and his figure appeared above the palace. Even an ant wants to escape from Lord Night Demon. An aura was released, as if all the power in this world was under his control. Every move he made had shocking divine power. Su Fong was instantly unable to move. The Imperial advisor smiled coldly and grabbed with his hand. With a domineering smile, he was ready to capture Su Fong directly. At this moment, a black-robed man appeared in front of Su Fong and grabbed with his hand. The Imperial advisor's divine power shackles were torn apart like a piece of cloth. It turned out that Su Fong had released Dai Yong and directly used the divine power of a world immortal to forcefully tear apart the shackles. Then, he took Su Fong and escaped hundreds of feet away. The Imperial advisor's cultivation realm was similar to Lin Yihan's. He was much stronger than Dai Yong, but he was still in the world immortal realm. It was impossible for him to use his divine power to shackle Dai Yong. That ant actually has a world immortal realm expert by his side, and he has the aura of the clear skies myriad scroll door. Could it be that he has attracted the attention of the clear skies myriad scroll door and sent experts to the divine billow immortal world? We can't let them escape. The Imperial advisor was shocked. He immediately led the three black-robed men in the direction Su Fong had escaped. When they appeared again, they were only a few dozen feet away from Su Fong. You really think I, Su Fong, am an ant? Master of the Dark Knight, this time I will let you suffer a big loss. Su Fong's eyes were cold and sharp. If it wasn't for the Night Demon Clan expert in the Imperial Palace, he would have killed the Imperial advisor in the Imperial City. Chi! Hundreds of poisonous runes were shot out, causing a big explosion. The poisonous gas rolled and blocked the pursuit behind. Although Su Fong's poisonous runes were powerful, they didn't have much effect on an expert like the Imperial advisor. With a shake of his aura, he shattered the layers of poisonous gas. Su Fong and Dai Yong were nowhere to be seen. It turned out that Dai Yong took advantage of this moment to escape with Su Fong. After a few breaths, the two escaped the boundary outside the divine billow immortal world and came to the depths of the void. Whoosh! The Imperial advisor and the three experts persevered and chased after them through the void. Human ant, since you have heard the master's secret, then don't leave. Obediently come back with me. The Imperial advisor grinned maliciously and was very proud. His strength was greater than Dai Yong's, and he also had an immortal body in a sense. There were also three peerless elders following him. It was impossible for him to let the other party escape. How could he not be proud? Since you dare to chase after me, then don't go back. Su Fong's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He released the monk, Mao Chong, Tung Ba, and the other experts in Big Goblin. He didn't move for the time being. If he scared away these four puppet hosts controlled by the Night Demon, where would he find the runes? The second primordial spirit had already become so powerful after fusing with 2 to 5 runes. If he refined 4 more. The way Su Fong looked at the State Master and the other 3 puppets was like a strong man who was sizing up a few naked beautiful girls. He was smiling happily. Chapter 12:07. Seeing Su Fong release a few more experts and Big Goblin in succession, the State Preceptor was very surprised. However, he was only surprised. The State Preceptor was very confident in himself and the 3 experts he brought. Dai Yong, you entangle the state preceptor. Later, the Ghost Dao's 5 freaks will help you capture him. Don't let him escape. It wasn't difficult to defeat the state preceptor and the 3 black-clothed men. Su Fang's overall strength was so powerful now. However, to capture all of them, he had to make careful arrangements. Monk, you deal with one of the black-clothed men. Teng Ba, Mao Chong, you guys work together to deal with the other one. Leave the remaining one to me. Remember, no matter what, you can't escape. Otherwise, Su Fang spoke in a domineering voice with his primordial spirit. After making the appropriate arrangements, he flew towards the depths of the void. Whoosh, Dai Yong charged towards the state preceptor. The state preceptor laughed sinisterly. You think you're qualified to fight with me? That mystic immortal realm cultivator wearing a bronze mask just now is the master of your clan, right? He abandoned you and fled, using you as cannon fodder. You still work for him. Why don't you just submit to my master? As long as you're loyal, my master will grant you an immortal body. Dai Yong said gloomily. A puppet body controlled by night demon dares to boast shamelessly in front of me. You don't know what's good for you. When I capture you, my master will have another world immortal realm expert under his command. The state preceptor was very disdainful of Dai Yong. Then, he ordered the black-clothed men under him. 2 black-clothed men charged towards the monk, Mao Chong, and Teng Ba, while the other black-clothed man chased after Su Fang. The experts under Su Fang didn't stop them. The monk used his finger technique and burst out with Vajrachi. He fought with the black-clothed man. The black-clothed man's strength was comparable to an ordinary elder. He was far from being a match for the monk. However, the monk didn't use his powerful ability. It was like a cat playing with a mouse. Mao Chong and Teng Ba dealt with a black-clothed man. It seemed to be a draw, but it was unknown if the man and demon under Su Fang were hiding their strength. Dai Yong, on the other hand, was in danger. The Imperial Preceptor's cultivation was slightly higher than Dai Yong's, and he had a supreme-grade flying sword. He could use most of the sword's power to release streaks of sharp sword intent. The void within dozens of miles was filled with sword light and sword chi, as if it had become a world of swords. Dai Yong didn't fight the Imperial Preceptor head-on. Instead, he executed his movement divine art and released poisonous smoke from afar to tangle with the Imperial Preceptor. Dai Yong's most proficient divine art was poison. Ever since he was subdued by Su Fang, he had been rewarded by Su Fang with quite a number of ghostly poisons for him to cultivate. This allowed his poison divine art to advance to the next level, and its power was astonishing. At this moment, he formed a madra and released poisonous smoke, causing the surroundings to turn into a world of poison. It sizzled as it corroded and shattered the shackles of Imperial Preceptor's divine aura. Although he was suppressed, the State Preceptor could not do anything to Dai Yong in a short period of time. As for Su Fang's side, the black-clothed man pursuing Su Fang had the strength of an elder. Naturally, he didn't take Su Fang, a mystic immortal, seriously. After catching up to Su Fang, he directly closed in on Su Fang. He didn't even release his divine art's aura as he formed a madra with his hands, wanting to directly seal Su Fang. You will die very quickly if you underestimate me. Slurp, Su Fang opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of poisonous blood, which transformed into a flying sword condensed from poisonous blood. The black-clothed man was shocked and hurriedly retreated. Natal state. In an instant, the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda flew out of the void dust cauldron and entered Su Fang's body. Its divine aura immediately escaped into Su Fang's flesh and true qi. The internal experts and the big goblin all injected their magic power and true qi into the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. Then, after fusing with the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda, it entered Su Fang's body. Su Fang didn't show any mercy. He took a step forward and entered his natal state, punching out fiercely. Bang! When Su Fang entered his natal state, his strength would increase by 10 times. At his current realm, regardless of whether it was the power or speed, it was much stronger than before. The power of his punch now was enough to threaten the Grand Elder, Not to mention the black-clothed man's strength was only at the elder level. One punch. It directly bombarded the black-clothed man's body until it was incomplete. Even his head exploded. It was a tragic sight. Buzz, a black imprint with a strong essence, soul, divine aura flew out from the black-clothed man's shattered head. It's not that easy to leave. Su Fong was already prepared. He struck out with the heavenly devil blood plate, and a faint black demonic aura enveloped the imprint. He released the divine aura of a supreme gray Dao artifact to shackle the imprint, and then swept it into the Dao artifact space. Zung, it turned out that Su Fong had released the Ghost Dao's 5 freaks from the Crucible transformation space. Go help Dai Yong and trap the Imperial Preceptor. Su Fong gave the order, and then a black Xian Guang rolled out from his eyes. It was the imprint rune of the Second Essence Spirit. Second Essence Spirit, the Imperial Preceptor, is very powerful. In order to prevent him from escaping, you must find an opportunity to attack him directly with your Essence Soul divine aura. Fuse with Night Demon's imprint to control him. This time, I will have to fuse with a few more imprints. I'm really looking forward to it. The Second Essence Spirit spoke in a cold voice, full of killing intent. Whoosh! The Second Essence Spirit turned into a black stream of light and disappeared in an instant. The Ghost Dao's 5 freaks also flew in that direction. Su Fong released Green Feather King and several other big goblin from the Crucible transformation world to devour the black-clothed man's blood and chi for cultivation. This black-clothed man's corporeal body was not weak, so he couldn't waste it. The Imperial Preceptor suppressed Dai Yong's divine aura domain step by step. It wouldn't take long for him to kill Dai Yong. Who knew? The Ghost Dao's 5 freaks rushed over and used their Grand Fusion Divine technique. Together with Dai Yong, they surrounded the Imperial Preceptor, completely sealing off his escape route. 5 more powerhouses have arrived. The smug grin on the Imperial Preceptor's face immediately turned into shock and finally into despair. The Ghost Dao's 5 freaks used their Grand Fusion Divine technique together and had the ability to fight against an expert like Lin Yihan from the Tranquility Emperor's mansion. The Imperial Preceptor's strength was similar to Lin Yihan's. At this time, when the Ghost Dao's 5 freaks and Dai Yong joined forces to attack him, his divine aura was suppressed and his momentum collapsed. His body was first injured by Dai Yong's poison and then by the 5 freaks. A scream came from afar. Everyone turned their heads to look. They saw a black-clothed man, who was fighting with a big monk, was sent flying by the big monk's golden light fist technique. Suddenly, a stream of black blood wrapped around his body. It sizzled and corroded his corporeal body. Soon, it was devoured by the blood. A rune-like black imprint flew out from the blood and was about to escape. However, Su Fong, who had been waiting by the side, used the demonic blood plate and sucked the imprint into it. Then, it flew toward the remaining black-clothed man. The blood that swallowed the black-clothed man's corpse tumbled and turned into a monster that looked like a ghoul. It was ferocious and terrifying. It turned out that Su Fong had secretly released the ghoul and dealt a fatal blow to the black-clothed man. Such a strange and terrifying scene shocked the Imperial Preceptor, who was a supreme powerhouse of the underworld immortal realm. However, he did not lose his vigilance. The remaining black-clothed man saw the commotion from afar and was so frightened that his body trembled. When he saw Su Fong rushing over, he was about to escape. Swish! It turned out that Mao Chong took this opportunity to release his strongest attack. He activated the immortal piercing blade. A thin silver line shattered the black-clothed man's aura and pierced a transparent hole in his chest. However, there was no heart in his chest. His head kept on spewing out his primordial spirit. Whoosh! The demonic blood plate swirled in the air like a black star and sucked the black-clothed man into it. None of the 3 black-clothed men that the Imperial Preceptor brought escaped. Now, the Imperial Preceptor was the only one left. Su Fong walked over step by step. Who are you? You have the demonic head divine power and the demonic blood plate. Are you a cultivator of the demonic mountain? The Imperial Preceptor stared at Su Fong and asked. He was not afraid of the blood that the ghoul had turned into. Instead, he was afraid of Su Fong's demonic blood plate. The demonic blood plate was a supreme-grade, primordial spirit magic treasure. It just happened to counter the divine power of the rune imprint. You don't have a right to know my identity. Just surrender obediently. No one can save you, including your master, the Lord of the Dark World. Su Fong's voice was filled with boundless dominance. How dare you look down on my master? The Imperial Preceptor said arrogantly. At this time, before he was possessed, he must have been a peerless powerhouse. Su Fong directly ordered coldly, kill him. There's no need to worry about anything. The Ghost Dao's 5 freaks used the Grand Fusion Divine Art and combined their power to crush the Imperial Preceptor. Da Yong's poisonous divine power rolled over. Even the big monk saw that the Imperial Preceptor was doomed and did not let go of this opportunity to beat a drowning dog. He controlled the Vajra ring to attack the Imperial Preceptor. The Imperial Preceptor was in imminent danger and could not escape. Just as he was about to die, an irregular state of primordial spirit burning appeared in his mind. Then his head shattered and a black primordial spirit imprint flew into the air. Night Demon's imprint was an existence similar to the primordial spirit. Material power did not pose much of a threat to it. It directly penetrated the divine power of Da Yong and the other powerhouses. At this moment, it's not that easy to escape. Su Fong sneered. Whoosh! The second primordial spirit controlled the 5 combined rune imprint. It appeared like a black arrow and collided with the black imprint, escaping from the Imperial Preceptor's head. It released a supreme primordial spirit divine power and shackled the imprint. Su Fong effortlessly put into the demonic blood plate. He obtained another 4 primordial spirit imprints. Law reminded Su Fong from the depths of his body. You cannot refine these imprints in the divine, below, immortal world. There is a night demon in the Imperial Palace. Although it is not as strong as the Dark World Lord, it can control the physical body of an immortal emperor powerhouse and can use the strength of an immortal emperor. If you attract it while refining the imprints, it will be dangerous. Su Fong nodded. Let's go. One by one, the powerhouses and Big Goblin were put into the void dust cauldron by Su Fong. He stepped on his feather fan and flew into the depths of the endless void. 3 days later, Su Fong followed the map and found a small material continent in the void. Su Fong already knew that this material continent was not far from the divine, below, immortal world. Not only was there abundant heaven and earth spirit chi, but there were also some cultivation clans here. However, these clans were very weak. It turned out that Su Fong had come here to refine the newly obtained imprints. Then, he would kill his way back to the divine, below, immortal world and try to seize the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal. Whoosh! Su Fong stepped out of the desolate void and appeared in the sky above the material continent. Then, he raised his eyebrows. Demonic chi soared to the sky. Big Goblin after Big Goblin was wantonly attacking the human villages and cities on the material continent. There were also countless Big Goblin flying in the sky. There were no complete cities or traces of humans. The ground was dyed red with blood, and the air was filled with the smell of blood. Mixed with the evil chi, it formed a scene of hell on earth. After the 4th sun rose, the heaven and earth spirit chi was suppressed, and evil chi filled the world. The Big Goblin went berserk, and there were also demon Dao powerhouses who broke free from the seal and attacked humans. Su Fong had expected these things, but he had only heard about it in the clear skies Thousand Scrolls door. He had not seen it with his own eyes. When he arrived at the divine, below, immortal world, because of the cultivators of the celestial Devil Mountain, the powerhouses of the Tranquility Emperor's residence, and the puppet host controlled by Night Demon, the crazy Big Goblin had long been suppressed. There were not many big goblin attacks on humans. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, Su Fong realized the seriousness of the situation. Chapter 1208. I'll give you 1 day to suppress all the arrogant Big Goblin on the continent. Don't leave a single one alive. Remember, don't hurt a single human. Su Fong released the big goblin from the void dust cauldron. Then, he released all the junior commanders from the Yellow Spring Great Emperor bottle. He gave his orders ferociously. These great demons and junior commanders finally had a chance to catch their breaths. All of them howled excitedly as they pounced toward the continent below them. For a moment, the continent was filled with killing intent and demonic aura. Su Fong casually found a mountain peak and sat cross-legged on it to cultivate. After one day, the big goblin and junior commanders under Su Fong's command swept through the entire continent. They couldn't even find a single demonic beast that hadn't transformed, let alone an arrogant big goblin. All the demonic beasts became nutrients for the big goblin and junior commanders to improve their strength. The big goblin and junior commanders returned with glowing faces. They were very excited. This time, not only did they kill to their heart's content, but they also devoured a lot of big goblin's blood chi and golden core. The most important thing was that they experienced the feeling of free slaughter. It seems like I've sealed them in the Calder transformation and Yellow Spring Great Emperor bottle for too long. Demons naturally like to be free. If this goes on, not only will it be difficult to make them submit, but it will also be difficult to control them. Fortunately, the immortal world is in turmoil. There will be plenty of time for them to kill freely in the future. Su Fong didn't put them back into the Calder transformation or Yellow Spring Great Emperor bottle. Instead, he gave them 20 days to find a place to cultivate and break through. Buzz, his perfected ability, sensed hundreds of human cultivators flying toward him. However, we saw the big goblin and junior commanders emitting a strong demonic aura. He didn't dare to get close. He just looked at them from afar. These people's cultivation levels weren't high. The one with the highest cultivation level was a white-haired old man. He was only at the mystic immortal realm. The others were heaven immortals and cave immortals. They must have been besieged by the big goblin. In just a few years, these cultivators' auras were very weak. Some even had difficulty controlling their flying swords. "What's the matter?" Su Fong made a majestic sound. "Thank you for saving us, Senior. We will never forget this." The white-haired old man took the lead and knelt down in front of the Su Fong. The 100 cultivators behind him also knelt down, all of them filled with gratitude and reverence. "I was just passing by and saw the big goblin. I didn't come here specifically to save you, so there's no need to thank me," Su Fong said faintly. With a wave of his hand, an invisible divine might lifted up the many local cultivators and made them stand up involuntarily. The cultivators became even more respectful. Su Fong asked again, "How are the losses?" The white-haired old man replied with a trembling voice. Before the catastrophe, there were more than 200 million people in this territory. Now, there are only 1 million left, and most of them are disabled. Of the 200 million people, only 1 million remain. Su Fong's heart trembled. He stood up and flew over to the native cultivators. The cultivators bowed again. Su Fong's gaze swept across the crowd. Seeing the pain and sorrow in their eyes, Su Fong's heart also felt a burst of desolation, like a fox mourning the death of a rabbit. Law said from within his body, "This is just the big goblin. If the demon race and the demon race from the immortal and devil continent sweep through this immortal domain, none of these people will survive. This is the law of nature. The weak are prey to the strong. If a race is weak, it will be swallowed up by a strong race. If you want to change the fate of humanity, you must become strong yourself." Su Fong was silent. The local cultivators did not know what this mysterious and powerful bronze mask cultivator was thinking. One by one, they became nervous. "You all go. I will stay here for a few days and we'll leave. No need to panic. Take these pills and distribute them. Recover some of your vitality." Su Fong waved his hand and threw a storage ring to the white-haired old man. Inside, there were more than 1 million low-origin pills. Returning to the mountain peak, he sat down cross-legged. The native cultivators cried out in alarm. Then, some of them burst into tears, some of them laughed, and even more of them kowtowed to Su Fong. In this immortal domain, small material continents like this were as numerous as the sand on the beach. These cultivators generally did not have any background and their cultivation resources were extremely scarce. Not to mention low-origin pills. Even lower-level pills were hard to come by. Su Fong took out 1,000,000 Immortal Essence pills. With these Immortal Essence pills, this territory would definitely recover a lot of vitality in a short period of time. The local cultivators returned to the ground. Not long after, from the mountain peaks in the dilapidated cities, there was a burst of cheers, and one figure after another knelt down to the mountain peak where Su Fong was located. Su Fong helped these cultivators. Originally, it was just a moment of compassion and did not take it to heart. These Immortal Essence pills were nothing at all. Not to mention millions of low-level origin pills. Even millions or tens of millions of high-level origin pills could be taken out. Who knew? A trace of faith power, which had not been seen for a long time, came pouring in. The faith power of 1,000,000 people was nothing at all. However, this faith power came from the hearts of everyone. It was pious and pure. When it was absorbed by Su Fong's Origin Golden Core, it actually improved the Tyrannical Emperor's heaven-soaring technique by a lot. Traces of supreme, tyrannical, and sovereign aura condensed in the meridians. Just this little bit of faith power was at least comparable to the effect of Su Fong cultivating the Tyrannical Emperor's heaven-soaring technique for more than 10 years. The land beneath him also became a little more friendly. Su Fong was surprised and pleasantly surprised. He also vaguely understood the key to cultivating the Tyrannical Emperor's heaven-soaring technique. If one wanted to become an emperor who ruled an immortal domain, not only did one have to rely on killing and conquering, one also had to rely on grace and rain. Law said from the depths of his body, "Although I don't know much about the Tyrannical Emperor's heaven-soaring technique, I can conclude that your comprehension should be correct. Relying on strength alone to suppress others will not make them submit. Thunder and rain coexist. This is in line with the reincarnation of the heavenly Tao." Law, you also think that my comprehension is correct? Yes. Tranquility Emperor of the immortal Ao Great World has been an immortal emperor for countless years, but he has never been able to break through to a higher realm. This is because the Tyrannical Emperor's heaven-soaring technique is incomplete. This person only knows how to kill, but he doesn't know how to appease others. This is also one of the reasons. Su Fong, with your current realm, you can actually comprehend the truth that Tranquility Emperor couldn't. No wonder you can rise all the way from the small world to the current height. Su Fong didn't dare to be complacent. He had only cultivated the Tyrannical Emperor's heaven-soaring technique for a short period of time. He was still thousands of miles away from Tranquility Emperor. There was still a long way to go. Then, he entered the heavenly devil blood plate. He peeled off a young immortal and began to pour into a mark. Inside the mark, an amazing divine power gushed out. A primordial spirit vortex appeared, trying to devour Su Fong's young immortal. Su Fong had already experienced it. He used the divine power of the heavenly devil blood plate and the formation to suppress and collapse the black vortex gushing out of the mark. The young immortal entered the black mark and got into the cold space of the mark. The seal formation in the center of the space was sealing a mass of black light, which looked like a human figure. It was the culprit who controlled the mark. It's strange. Why is the consciousness left by Night Demon in this mark much weaker than the 5 marks we got before? Su Fong saw the abnormality. Law replied, "What's so strange about that? The consciousness of the 5 runic symbols obtained in the Nether Earth ruins was left behind by the Lord of the Dark Realm, and this imprint was most likely left behind by the Night Demon in the Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Palace." Su Fong let the second primordial spirit seize the consciousness in the formation overbearingly. The second primordial spirit merged with the consciousness left by the Lord of the Dark World. It was easy to seize this consciousness. Then he did the same with the consciousness in the remaining 2 marks from the black-robed men. When he seized the mark in the Imperial Preceptor's head, Su Fong found that the consciousness in this mark was far stronger than the previous ones. It was the consciousness of the Lord of the Dark World. Su Fong figured out something. It seems that the Night Demon clan's primordial spirit is also divided into high and low levels. The stronger the primordial spirit, the stronger the cultivator refined by the mark. For example, the mark refined by the Lord of the Dark Night could control peerless experts like the Great Elder. But the Night Demon in the imperial palace of the Divine Wave Nation could only control cultivators like the Elder. With the heavenly devil blood plate and the second primordial spirit's power, seizing the mark was not difficult. The difficult part was refining the mark. The hardness of this thing was comparable to a supreme great artifact. However, the hardness of the mark refined by the Night Demon in the imperial palace was much lower. At best, it was comparable to a supreme great artifact. Then he entered the crucible transformation world. The second primordial spirit took the 4 marks and went to the erase space to refine materials. After fusing and refining the marks, the second primordial spirit estimated that it could compete with an immortal Emperor Powerhouse's primordial spirit. With a thought, Bustling, Green Feather King, Undying Tortoise, Vermilion Emperor, and heaven-piercing Venerable Monster, these 5 powerful big goblin were wandering around this material continent. Soon, they returned to the mountain peak and entered the crucible transformation space. It also attracted the Wooling Goblin. Since coming to the great immortal world, the Wooling Goblin had made great contributions many times due to its special innate ability. This time, it was discovered by the Night Demon in the Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Palace. The collision between Su Fong and the Night Demon's primordial spirit divine ability caused a lot of damage to the Wooling Goblin. It turned out that Su Fong was going to use the State Preceptor to kill the State Preceptor and the 2 black-robed men's corpses to break through to the peak of the profound immortal 8th Dao realm. He also took the big goblin with him. The 6 big goblins' eyes glowed red. They looked at the 3 corpses with smiles, especially the State Preceptor's corpse. This was a powerful figure like the Great Elder. He activated the crucible transformation space. A refining force enveloped the 3 corpses. "Brother, you're so kind. You didn't forget about us when there are benefits," Bai Ling said with a grin. Green Feather King and the other big goblin were also very touched. They knew that Su Fong could use the yellow spring blood sea's devouring ability to refine all the essence in these corpses. There was no need for him to use the crucible transformation technique. "You're my family. I won't say anything unnecessary," Su Fong said with a smile. Sizzle, the dark fiery energy melted the corpses. Su Fong and the 6 big goblin each devoured the energy. Break through to the 9th Dao realm. Su Fong absorbed a ball of energy into his body. Then he took out the resources and used all his strength to break through his body. The yin-yang Dao wheel and the world fragment in his body kept fusing. The 23 yang meridians turned into a miraculous existence. Coupled with the reincarnation divine might, it caused his strength to constantly break through. Sizzle in less than 20 days. His body was like an explosive wave of tribulation energy. The terrifying tribulation fire burned fiercely. It turned out that he wanted to break through the 8th Xian immortal realm and advance to the 9th Xian immortal realm. Su Fong had only devoured 1/7 of the body essence of 2 elder experts and a powerful great elder. He could break through in a short period of time. One could imagine how amazing the essence was. Of course, this was also inseparable from Su Fong's continuous devouring of medicinal pills and the accumulation of several years. He endured the pain of the tribulation fire burning his body for a few more days. The tribulation fire gradually weakened and disappeared. At this time, his body ushered in a transformation. His primordial spirit and second primordial spirit transformed at the same time. His meridians were reborn. His golden core, origin, and divine aperture were constantly changing. The 9th Xian immortal realm. If he broke through again, he would cross into a new realm. Su Fong was looking forward to this day. Chapter 1209. The mystic immortal realm was extremely mysterious. It was the true cultivation of extracting the essence of heaven and earth and borrowing the power of the stars. The peak of the mystic immortal realm was the feather immortal realm. The feather immortal realm reached a new level of fusion with the galaxy, directly stripping off the galaxy fragments and fusing with the golden core, cultivating a real world. When Su Fong reached the mystic immortal realm, he could faintly touch the danger of the feather immortal realm. It was like a feather. If it could not fuse with the world, it would be shocked to death by the power of the world. This was the path of cultivation. Not only was it dangerous, but it was also full of variables. There was no smooth road. There was movement in the crucible transformation realm. Su Fong's eyes flashed with surprise. Wu Su Fong came to the crucible transformation world. So it turned out, with the help of the crucible transformation realm's refining power, the 3 black-robed men's imprint runes had been refined and fused with the imprint of the second primordial spirit. Su Fong asked, "Second primordial spirit, after fusing with the 3 new imprints, how much has the power of the primordial spirit increased?" "Main body, with the power of my primordial spirit now, even those so-called supreme immortal emperors would not be a threat to me." The second primordial spirit spat out a cold breath. "Even immortal emperors would not be a threat to you." Su Fong was surprised and happy. Unfortunately, the crucible transformation realm's imprint was personally refined by the Lord of the Dark World. If I can refine and fuse with this imprint, the power of the primordial spirit may be a threat to immortal emperors. Moreover, as long as I have enough time, I can be like Night Demon, using the supreme power of the primordial spirit to condense imprints and control cultivators. As long as I reach the feather immortal realm, I can activate some of the power of the heavenly creation cauldron and refine the imperial advisor's imprint. Main body, I look forward to that day. Su Fong flew out of the crucible transformation realm. He calculated with his fingers. There was not much time left before the crown prince of the divine water nation ascended the throne. After devouring 1/7 of the essence energy of the imperial advisor's corpse, Su Fong planned to use it to stabilize the state of the 9 Dao realm and attack the 24th Yang Meridian. The birth of every Yang Meridian required a very long period of accumulation, or it required a lot of luck. It had not been a long time since the 23rd Yang Meridian was born. Originally, it was not possible for a new Yang Meridian to be born. However, after the 4th sun rose into the sky, it became easier to cultivate Yang Qi. Therefore, the speed of cultivation had more than doubled. As long as he cultivated in seclusion with all his might, the 24th Yang Meridian could be born at any time. With the addition of the sun, controlling the primeval chaos sacred mirror had become easier. Su Fong had also experimented with it, and could now barely control a trace of its power. Of course, he could only release a more violent 9 Yang true flame. He could not use it to deal with cultivators. First, I'll obtain the Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. Then, I'll find a place to cultivate and attack the 24 Yang veins with all my strength. Then, I'll attack the peak of the 9th Dao profound immortal realm. The Demon Sealing Royal Heavenly Seal was related to immortal emperor Yu's body inside the God Burial enclosure. Su Fong stopped cultivating. Summoning all the big goblin and demon immortals under his command, he stored them into the Yellow Spring Great Emperor's bottle and soared into the sky. On the material continent, some of the surviving human cultivators sensed Su Fong's departure, and all of them knelt on the ground with gratitude. Suddenly, there was movement within his body. It turned out that Su Fong had stripped a Yang immortal and used his crucible transformation refining ability to seal and refine a storage ring that he found on the Imperial Tutor's corpse. He found an identity token in the storage ring. It turned out that the Imperial Tutor's name was a thought manifestation venerable. His true identity was the sect master of a sect in the sky-bearing great world called the Heaven-Returning Azure Spirit Sect. This sect was very extraordinary and was only second to a great force. For some unknown reason, the thought manifestation venerable accidentally entered the Dark Earth ruins and became a puppet controlled by the Dark Realm's lord. Then, he entered the Imperial Palace and used the Imperial Tutor's identity as a cover. Various immortal stones, precious stones, strange stones, and some spiritual items floated inside the storage ring. There were also a dozen spirit veins. The sect master of sect was indeed very rich. However, this was nothing to Su Fong, who had the inheritance of the Yellow Spring Great Emperor's Dao right. What surprised Su Fong was that there was a world fragment and a map inside the storage ring. In the Great World, except for those powerful demon emperors and demon emperors, very few big goblin had a world fragment. Green Feather King had already fused one, and Wooling Goblin also had one, but had not yet fused. Now there was one more. From this, one could see how strong Su Fong's foundation and overall strength was. With a thought, Bai Ling, Green Feather King, and the other big goblin came from the Crucible transformation side to Su Fong's side. These big goblins, after devouring the Imperial Tutor's flesh essence, had not yet completely refined and fused with it. Their auras seemed to be different from before. Once they were completely refined, their strength would certainly increase by a large margin. They would be able to catch up to Su Fong. Green Feather King might even surpass Su Fong. Wooling Goblin did not come. After devouring the essence, he recovered while using the Crucible transformation technique. Su Fong also helped him fuse the world fragment with the yin and yang power of the world. World fragment. When Vermilion Emperor saw the world fragment in Su Fong's hand, his eyes suddenly flashed. The other big goblins who did not have world fragments were also envious. With a world fragment, not only would their strength increase, but their cultivation speed would also increase by several times. Since Green Feather King had fused with the world fragment, he had left the other big goblins in the dust. Except for Bai Ling, who had the Chaos Ring, which Big Goblin did not care much about it. The other big goblins wanted it. Su Fong said, "This world fragment will be given to Vermilion Emperor first." The Undying Turtle and Sky-piercing Monster Venerable are also envious. Although world fragments are rare, they're not difficult to obtain. Moreover, under my hands, what kind of treasure can I obtain? Thank you, Master. Vermilion Emperor was overjoyed and repeatedly thanked Su Fong. As the peerless ancient big goblin of the Pig Horse King, once Vermilion Emperor fused with the world fragment, his strength and cultivation speed would skyrocket. Even Su Fong's current speed would not be comparable. The other big goblins who did not have world fragments were envious, but they were not too disappointed. Su Fong could even kill the powerful Great Elder now. In the future, he would not have to worry about not being able to obtain treasures. Now that the world fragment was not difficult to obtain, it was even less of a problem. Moreover, the few of them had followed Su Fong from the small world to the great immortal world. Su Fong had always treated them as family. Any treasures and cultivation resources would be given to them first. What was there to be dissatisfied with? As for the map, Su Fong's heartbeat suddenly quickened. This map was actually a treasure map. Moreover, the map's coordinates indicated that the outer region's danger zone was called the Lightning Realm. The treasure in the danger zone was none other than a type of mystical fire. Thunder Fury Flame. At this moment, Law suddenly said, "Thunder Fury Flame, I have heard of this type of mystical fire." Su Fong's spirits lifted. "Law, hurry up and tell me." Thunder Fury Flame is said to be a type of thunder fire. It is extremely violent. Compared to the heavenly light mystical fire, the nameless mystical fire, and the thousand illusion star fire, it is much more powerful. Even immortal emperors would find it difficult to subdue it, let alone fusing it. However, Law spoke slowly. At this point, he even deliberately kept Su Fong in suspense to whet his appetite. However, you have the ability of the Great Perfection stage, as well as other abilities and treasures that even immortal emperors do not have. Especially that almost omnipotent divine artifact, the Origin Sacred Mirror. As long as you subdue the Thunder Fury Flame, fusing it should not be difficult. Lightning Realm, Thunder Fury Flame. When he obtained the Demon Sealing Emperor's Heavenly Seal and went to the God Burial Enclosure, he would definitely make a trip to the Lightning Realm to subdue the Thunder Fury Flame. Su Fong's eyes burned with anticipation. The divine billow immortal world was in sight. Buzz, he suddenly sensed the heaven's secret life shrinking technique. Some Tao runes from the heaven's secret life shrinking technique appeared in his mind. He immediately used the heaven's secret life shrinking technique and combined it with his great perfection stage ability to sense. Buzz buzz. He did not expect a square-faced, middle-aged man to appear in his mind's Dao runes. Lin Yihan, an expert from the Tranquil Emperor residence. Su Fong hurriedly used the heaven's secret life shrinking technique to conceal his aura and merge with the star sand around him. Not only Lin Yihan, but there were also more than 10 experts. Among them, there was a tall and mighty man who seemed to be the ruler of space and time. It was as if he could make all things bow down to him with just one look. His shocking kingly aura was even stronger than Lin Yihan's. This person is even stronger than Lin Yihan and has such a shocking kingly aura. He should be a supreme, immortal emperor from the Tranquility Emperor's residence. The Tranquility Emperor's residence actually sent out such an immortal emperor. It seems like they are determined to get the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal. This is going to be troublesome. Su Fong was very shocked at this moment. This time, we came to the divine billow immortal world. Not only did we not find Su Fong's whereabouts and obtain the ethereal true enlightenment, but we also could not control the small divine billow nation. Until now, we have not obtained the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal. We also lost Yin Mo and other experts from the Tranquility Emperor's residence. Lin Yihan, do you know your mistake? The mighty man said in a domineering voice. He slightly released his divine aura, causing the surrounding star fog to surge violently. Lin Yihan hurriedly bowed. The other experts also trembled and felt a chill run down their backs. It turned out that this man came not only for the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal, but also for Su Fong and the ethereal true enlightenment. The latter was even more important. After all, the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal was only related to the body of an immortal emperor. However, the ethereal true enlightenment was related to the future of the Tranquility Emperor's residence. It was even related to whether the Tranquility Emperor could surpass the immortal emperor and reach a higher realm. Su Fong's heart was filled with cold, killing intent. The Tranquility Emperor's residence really values me. One day I, Su Fong, will trample the Tranquility Emperor's residence under my feet and make the Tranquility Emperor my subordinate. Where did this expert come from in the imperial palace of the divine billow nation? The mighty man's tone softened. Lin Yihan respectfully replied, Lord Ing Huang, in the imperial palace of the divine billow nation, in addition to the state preceptor who is not weaker than me, there is also a hidden peerless expert of the immortal emperor level. I tried to find out a few days ago and almost couldn't get away. As for their origin, I was incompetent and couldn't find out anything about them. They should be forces from other worlds. The mighty man called Ing Huang by Lin Yihan raised his sword-like eyebrows. A immortal emperor expert? How did the small divine billow immortal realm attract such an expert? No wonder you couldn't succeed. Lin Yihan and the experts of the Tranquility Emperor's residence sighed in relief. Ing Huang asked again, what about the demonic mountain? Besides Ba Mo Sovereign and Sai Shui Sovereign, no other experts of the demonic mountain have shown up. However, the demonic mountain has started a rebellion in the divine billow nation. It seems that they are not only attacking cities to seal the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal, but also to occupy the entire divine billow immortal realm. The demonic mountain is preparing to go to war with the clear skies myriad scroll gate. This is better. The two forces fighting is more beneficial to the Tranquility Emperor's residence. Lin Yihan carefully asked, in a few days, the crown prince of the divine billow nation will ascend the throne. Once he obtains the faith of the people of the divine billow nation and the recognition of the divine billow immortal realm, he can enter the imperial mausoleum and obtain the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal. Lord Ing Huang, what should we do next? Let him ascend the throne, then take him down and enter the imperial mausoleum. I'd like to see who the immortal emperor in the palace is. Ing Huang's voice was full of supreme dominance, and an aura of disdain rose spontaneously. After the people of the Tranquility Emperor's residence left, Su Fong walked out of the star sand after an entire day. There are two peerless immortal emperors. The chances of me getting the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal are very slim. I have to find another way. Su Fang frowned and thought hard for a solution. Chapter 12:10. The Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Palace. Boom! A magnificent palace collapsed with a loud crash, turning into a cloud of dust that scattered in the air. There was even a shocking aura that engulfed the imperial city, causing everyone to be shackled by the divine might. They spat out blood and knelt on the ground. On the ground where the palace collapsed, a figure waved his sleeves, and the dust around was immediately swept away. A bunch of useless idiots. Humans, stupid pigs. A roar that contained monstrous anger resounded. It turned out that the immortal emperor puppet in the imperial palace, who was dressed as an inner attendant and possessed by night demon, was venting its anger. With the crown prince in the lead, dozens of experts dressed as imperial guards knelt in the ruins, their bodies trembling like a flock of frightened chickens. The three men in black sent to kill Su Fang all had a trace of Night Demon's consciousness. Night Demon's Yuan spirit would be damaged every time he lost one. Besides, it wasn't easy to refine one seal, and he lost 3 this time. The Imperial Preceptor was personally controlled by the Lord of the Dark World. He was also a very capable subordinate of the Lord of the Dark World. If the Lord of the Dark World investigated this matter, even the Night Charm clan would suffer unbearable punishment. Moreover, the news from the puppets that Night Demon controlled and hid in the major forces not only spread to the Tranquility Emperor's mansion, but also to the Tiandao, Celestial World, and Huoyin Shinrikyo, not to mention the Clear Sky Myriad Scroll Door that controlled the Divine Wave Immortal World. If this continued, the 8 forces would rush to the Divine Wave Immortal World, and this plan would fail. How could Night Demon not be angry? That wasn't what Night Demon was most worried about. The puppets controlled by Night Demon were almost immortal. Even if the body was destroyed, the seal rune could still escape with the power of the Yuan spirit. But this time, even the seal rune made by the Lord of the Dark Night couldn't escape and even lost its connection. It could be seen that the mystic celestial cultivator who sneaked into the Imperial Palace that day had a supreme Tao artifact or other means to restrain the Yuan spirit. This discovery made Night Demon feel an enormous threat. If you can't enter the Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Tomb and get the Demon Sealing Emperor's Heavenly Seal in 3 days, you'll all die. At most, we'll just choose another host. A bunch of useless trash. The old attendant gritted his teeth, wishing he could slap all of the puppets down below to death. It was at this moment. In the southern city of the Divine Water Nation, there was a king mansion, and the owner was a king of the Divine Water Nation. His name was King Xiaoyao, but he was just an idle king. He didn't have much power and couldn't compare to the fallen King Jianghe. Wu Shay figure flew out of Lord Freedom's mansion and stood in the void. Wanting to enter the Divine Surge Nation's Imperial Mausoleum is indeed not an easy task. It turned out that after Su Fang had returned to the Divine Billow Immortal World, he had visited more than a dozen royal mansions and interrogated them about the Divine Billow Nation's Imperial Mausoleum. Putting all the information together, the conclusion was not optimistic. The Divine Surge Nation's Imperial Mausoleum was built on the Imperial Mausoleum Mountain, which was a few hundred miles east of the Monarch City. However, all of this was just on the surface. The Imperial Mausoleum Mountain was actually a void realm that was like a dead ruin. It was an area of ancient ruins. Generations of emperors and imperial powerhouses were buried in the depths of the ruins within countless arrays. In order to prevent anyone from entering the void realm inside the Imperial Mausoleum, the ruins were protected by arrays. This was no ordinary array, but a powerful barrier formed by generations of emperors and imperial powerhouses of the Divine Water Nation, combined with the will and power of faith of the Divine Water Immortal World. Only the current emperor of the Divine Water Nation had the power to protect himself and could enter the void realm without being shackled. Outsiders would be suppressed if they entered, and even immortal emperor powerhouses would find it difficult to escape. It's obviously not realistic to wait for the crown prince to ascend to the throne and capture him from the hands of an immortal emperor powerhouse and control him to enter the Imperial Mausoleum. I can only enter the imperial mausoleum before the crown prince ascends to the throne. No matter what, I have to test it out. I can't return empty-handed. Su Fang had great confidence in his various abilities and treasures. As he pondered, he flew out of the monarch's city unhurriedly. Whoosh, Su Fang appeared on the imperial mausoleum mountain. Taking advantage of the night, Su Fang concealed his aura and used his wood-type and earth-type natal superpowers to avoid the layers of guards and arrived at the top of the imperial mausoleum mountain. A huge stone monument more than 300 feet tall stood on the top of the mountain like a giant sword, as if it was going to pierce the sky. The void realm inside the imperial mausoleum was just below the tombstone. As he approached the huge tombstone, Su Fang used his perfect vision to look and saw that behind the tombstone, there was a Tao pattern intertwined into an old man embedded on the tombstone. This domineering-looking old man was the ancestor of the Divine Water Nation's imperial family. After interrogating the Divine Water Nation's imperial family, Su Fang learned that this image was actually the door to the Void Realm. Those Tao patterns formed a seal, and once touched, it would attract countless powerhouses guarding the imperial mausoleum. Su Fang was naturally not afraid of the imperial mausoleum's guards, but it would be troublesome if the immortal emperor powerhouse in the palace was alerted. Boom! Su Fang's body suddenly shattered and turned into a bloody ribbon, cleverly and nimbly drilling through the gaps between the Tao patterns. Boom! A mysterious Xian Guang flashed, and Su Fang's bloody ribbon passed through the spatial airflow and fell into an unfamiliar void. Buzz! In an instant, Su Fang felt that his breathing had returned to normal, as if he had come from the natural void to the silent ruins of the Void Realm. He took a closer look. It was a vast wasteland of ruins, without a trace of life, filled with cold air, as well as a strong aura of hostility and death. It was as if he had come to hell. Why is there such a strong aura of death? It was not strange for there to be aura of death in a place where the dead were buried, but the aura of death in this place was too strong, so strong that he could barely sense any natural spiritual energy. Law suddenly said, "Be careful." Su Fang responded, "Law, do you know why? I think it should be related to the rise of the fourth sun." "Are you right? How could it be related to the changes of the world?" "It must be related. The extra 3 illusory suns emitted an extremely shocking aura of hostility, which can suppress the spiritual energy of the world, but also increase the demonic aura and demonic aura, including the aura of death. It's just to make the aura of death a little stronger that there doesn't seem to be anything to worry about." Law's voice became solemn. "It's just to make the aura of death a little stronger. It's really easy to say. When the aura of death is strong to a certain extent, some dead cultivators will be resurrected, crazily attacking all living beings, devouring life to strengthen themselves. Do you think there's nothing to worry about?" "This." Su Fang sucked in a breath of cold air, as if he had fallen into a cold glacier. Throughout history, how many cultivators had died in the great immortal world? Compared to the sand by the sea, there were many stars in the starry sky. If these cultivators who had died long ago were all resurrected, Su Fang's scalp went numb, his heartbeat suddenly accelerated, and he almost jumped out. Law comforted him. "It won't be that serious. It's only a very small number of corpses that have not yet decayed, and there are powerful cultivators with souls and remnant thoughts in their corpses that can be resurrected. Those who have long turned into dust and their souls have been destroyed, of course, can't be resurrected. Besides, there are many immortal realms in the vast galaxy, and there are many true supreme experts. Why do you, a little mystic immortal, worry so much?" Su Fang laughed self-deprecatingly. He continued to fly forward. More than 2 hours later, a large and endless desolate mountain range appeared in his sight, and he saw the towering peaks on the mountain range. There was no aura of life at all, but the aura of death had become stronger. On each peak, there was a huge tombstone buried with an emperor or imperial family expert of the Divine Wave Nation. There were probably millions of people buried in this desolate mountain range. I wonder where the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation hid with the demon, sealing royal heavenly seal. Su Fong used the life, shrinking technique, and the power of the Great Perfection stage to search the mountain range below. A day later, he sensed the aura of the Divine Wave Nation's imperial family on the tallest peak. So he's hiding here. Although he had found the whereabouts of the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation, Su Fong did not relax much. Once the protective barrier of the tomb was triggered, it would be quite troublesome. Who are you? How dare you intrude into my Divine Wave Nation's imperial tomb? A loud voice suddenly sounded. I was discovered. Su Fong felt a bit incredulous. The one who had spoken was definitely the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation. Logically speaking, his cultivation was only at the Feather Immortal realm, so it should be impossible for him to discover him from so far away. Luo Zai's voice sounded from the depths of his body. This person is the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation, and he has the demon sealing royal heavenly seal, so he can use the formation to control this void world. You have to be careful. Su Fong nodded and took out the special disciple identity token of the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate. He used his true chi to release the aura, and then said loudly, Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation, I am a disciple of the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate. I received your request for help, so I came to rescue you. Quickly come see me. The Divine Wave Immortal Realm was a vassal force of the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate, and it was one of the unimportant ones. Su Fong had the special disciple identity of the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate, and his position in the sect was comparable to some of the more powerful elders. Compared to the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation, his position was much higher. When he saw Su Fong, he had to kneel and greet him. It really is the aura of the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate. There was a surprised voice, but it was followed by silence. Su Fong raised his eyebrows and shouted coldly, Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation, I am a special disciple of the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate, and I came here because you asked for help. How dare you not come out and see me? Suddenly, there was an explosion of aura, which turned into chains and intertwined with each other. Instantly, it formed a shocking barrier. With a domineering aura, it surged toward Su Fong from all directions. It shackled Su Fong in the center, but it stopped when it was 3 feet away from Su Fong. What a terrifying barrier! Su Fong's eyes were filled with astonishment. Under the sensing power of a perfected warrior, the power of the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation inside the barrier was very weak. All he could do was activate it a little. Even without his aura, the barrier would be activated on its own. This barrier was not someone's divine power. It was the will of the Divine Wave Immortal World that was formed by generations of emperors and sovereigns of the Divine Wave Nation with the power of faith from the Divine Wave Immortal World. In other words, when facing this barrier, it was like facing the entire Divine Wave Immortal World. It was not something that Su Fong could fight against at his level. Even a celestial lord might not be able to do it. When the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation activated the barrier, he was undoubtedly the master of this void world. He could control the will of the Divine Wave Immortal World and shackle and crush anyone who was trapped in the formation. Su Fong shouted coldly, Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation, how dare you betray the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate? Betrayal. When I go to the enclosure of buried gods, I will conquer this immortal region in the future. The Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate is nothing. A figure appeared not far away from Su Fong. It was an old man in a yellow robe. It was the will of the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation. The God Billow Nation's emperor looked down at Su Fong from a high vantage point, as if he was a god that came from the heavens. Chapter 12:11. Sweeping through the entire immortal region, Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation. Did Death Chi enter your head? What's in the god burial enclosure that gave you the power to sweep through the immortal region? Even the supreme immortal emperor of the tranquil emperor residence wouldn't dare to boast like that. Su Fong looked at the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation with disdain. Of course, he wanted to get the secret of the god burial enclosure out of his mouth. The Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation said with supreme arrogance. How would you know how glorious my ancestor was during the great war of immortals and demons? During the great war of immortals and demons, countless powerful forces were destroyed. No matter how glorious your ancestor was, it's all in the past. What's it to show off? What does this have to do with the god burial enclosure? Of course it has something to do with it. Not only does the god burial enclosure contain the inheritance of my ancestor's family, but also seals a supreme expert who surpassed the immortal emperor of the family. Su Fangdao was shocked. He didn't expect the body in the god burial enclosure to be the ancestor of the divine wave nation. Moreover, he was still alive. Seeing Su Fang's shocked expression, the emperor of the divine wave nation was very proud. During the great war of immortals and demons, my ancestor was seriously injured. My family had no choice but to seal him in the god burial enclosure and let him fall into a state of deep sleep. As time passed, he would slowly recover until he woke up. The imperial family of the Divine Wave Nation was tasked with guarding the god burial ruins. When this supreme expert woke up, they would use the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal to undo his seal. In order to get more information, Su Fang refuted in disdain. How preposterous! The great war of immortals and demons happened millions of years ago. How do you know all these things? I've read countless ancient books. In addition to my speculation, I naturally came to this conclusion. Moreover, a few years ago, the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal had a reaction, indicating that my ancestor has awakened. He's just waiting for me to use the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal to undo his seal. It sounds reasonable. Su Fang looked pensive. With immortal emperor used supreme strength, not to mention sweeping through this immortal region, even in the entire great immortal world, he would become a hegemon. My ancestor was able to annihilate a mere azure sky myriad scroll door in an instant. Yet a tiny little mysterious immortal like you dares to make a show of strength before me? The emperor of the Divine Wave Nation revealed a supreme, domineering aura. He was extremely pleased with himself and looked like a vile person who was intoxicated with success. Su Fang shook his head and smiled. It sounds wonderful, but Divine Wave Nation's emperor, you seem to have forgotten one thing. You are now trapped in the Imperial Mausoleum, and there are at least 2 immortal emperor-level experts eyeing you covetously. They want to capture you, seize your devil-sealing emperor's heaven seal, go to the god-burying enclosure, seize your ancestor's corporeal body, and the Dao field inheritance left behind by your clan's ancestors. 2 immortal emperors. The Divine Wave Nation's emperor shuddered. No matter how strong the barrier was, it was impossible for it to completely block off an immortal emperor-level expert. As long as it was continuously bombarded, it would shatter sooner or later. Su Fang struck while the iron was hot. Furthermore, in a few days, the crown prince will ascend to the throne. Once he has the ability to protect himself, he will be able to enter this place without being shackled by the barrier. Why don't you hurry up and find a way to escape from here? The Divine Wave Nation's emperor was shocked once again. He had calculated everything, but he had never considered this point. Su Fang continued, I have a way to bring you out of the Imperial Mausoleum without the immortal emperor-level experts noticing. What do you think? Silence. Suddenly, follow you out and continue to be a slave of the Azure Sky Myriad Scroll Door? Kid, you have a good idea. I will kill you, and I naturally have a way to get out. The Divine Wave Nation's emperor revealed a ferocious expression, and his killing intent soared to the sky. Law mocked from within Su Fang's body. You are wasting your breath. You should hurry up and find a way to escape. This Divine Wave Nation's emperor's brain has been corroded by the death chi, and he has become extremely violent. How can words move him? Su Fang was also very depressed, but he didn't waste his breath. At least he had obtained a lot of useful information from the Divine Wave Nation's emperor. Whoosh, whoosh. The power of the shackles pressed down on Su Fang, making it difficult for him to use his divine abilities, let alone escape. This was the will of the Divine Wave Immortal Realm. A large seal appeared above Su Fang's head. It was the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal, which the Divine Wave Nation had treated as their heirloom seal. It brought with it a shocking aura that could suppress a territory, and it fell down on Su Fong. The Divine Wave Nation's emperor laughed proudly. The Azure Sky Myriad Scroll Door has always treated the Divine Wave Nation as a vassal, a slave. Today, I will suppress you, a special disciple of the Azure Sky Myriad Scroll Door, and let you become the mud that nourishes the Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. As a special disciple, you must have amazing treasures and cultivation resources on you. All of them will belong to me. A powerful aura directly crushed Su Fong into meat paste. Chi, flying sword. A 3-foot-long sword with a powerful and profound aura. It was sharp and domineering. Reincarnation. The 2 words on the sword's hilt emitted a strange light. Underworld Reincarnation Sword. The divine weapon used by the Underworld Emperor in the past. It was a divine weapon as powerful as the 10 Great Tao artifacts, and it had existed for even longer than the 10 Great Tao artifacts. It had just been struck out by Su Fong. Just the aura that it emitted caused the Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal and the divine aura shackles that came from all directions to slow down a little. What kind of Tao artifact is this? It is even more powerful than the 10 Great Tao artifacts in the legends. The Divine Wave Nation's Emperor's eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. The Divine Wave Nation had a long history, even longer than the Clear Skies Myriad Scroll Door. As the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation, he naturally knew of the illustrious reputation of the 10 Great Tao artifacts. Then his eyes flashed with greed. You are only at the mystic immortal realm. Even if you have the 10 Great Tao artifacts, how can you fuse them together, let alone activate them? If I kill you, this divine weapon will belong to me. Luck. I actually have such heaven-defying luck. Oomph. Su Fong formed a complicated seal with his hands, and it struck the Underworld Reincarnation Sword with a surge of reincarnation divine aura. Chi. A sharp and domineering aura released a shocking reincarnation sword intent. The divine aura shackles that shrouded Su Fong instantly shattered. The chains shattered, and the entire barrier began to shake. Then, a surge of reincarnation divine aura rolled on the Underworld Reincarnation Sword, and the chains that were shattered by the Reincarnation Sword were sucked into the Reincarnation Sword. The Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation was dumbfounded. In the blink of an eye, boom, chains formed by the will of the Divine Wave Immortal Realm were released from the Underworld Reincarnation Sword with astonishing divine aura shackles. It was vast and mighty, and its aura was monstrous. Clang! The Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal was sent flying. The Emperor of the Divine Wave Nations will let out an incredulous scream as it shattered. The array barrier that was everywhere in the Void Realm also shook violently and collapsed by more than 100 feet. The Underworld Reincarnation Sword. Ever since Su Fong absorbed a large amount of primordial purple chi in the Azure Sky Myriad Scroll Door's refining hall, his ability to control Dharma treasures had greatly increased, and he could barely activate a part of its power. Although he could only activate a small part of it, its power was already terrifying. This was the Underworld Reincarnation Sword. Not only could it restrain and suppress the enemy's divine aura and divine ability, but it could also absorb the opponent's divine ability and use it to attack the enemy. Su Fong was not in a good state either. The golden core origin true chi in his body was almost drained, but fortunately, the Nanyang true chi was still very abundant. Whoosh! The array barrier that had just been shattered was reformed again, forming chains that released divine aura to shackle Su Fong. However, the Underworld Reincarnation Sword had long been integrated with Su Fong. Even if he could not activate it, the Sword Spirit would release divine aura to resist the shackles. However, it was impossible for Su Fong to break free from the shackles. A mystic immortal cultivator can actually activate one of the 10 Great Tao artifacts. This really surprised me. You must have an amazing secret on you. However, this is the Imperial Mausoleum of the Divine Wave Nation, and everything is under my control. You will die in the end, and everything you have will belong to me. The will of the divine wave nation's emperor reappeared and activated the demon sealing imperial heavenly seal, continuously releasing divine aura in an attempt to suppress Sufang. Under the impact of the divine aura, the reincarnation sword's divine aura was suppressed, and the area it radiated gradually shrank. Emperor of the divine wave nation, you don't have to worry about whether I can escape or not. You should worry about your own life and death, said Sufang coldly. The divine wave nation's emperor was very pleased. You're about to be suppressed by me, and you still dare to speak such arrogant words? Second primordial spirit, go. Sufang's eyes suddenly shot out a black xianguang. Whoosh! The black xianguang was like a sharp arrow that ignored the array formation and divine aura. It pierced through the void and disappeared into the barrier, shooting towards the mountain where the divine wave nation's emperor was hiding. What is that? The divine wave nation's emperor was shocked and exclaimed. A dozen breaths later, the divine wave nation's emperor's emperor suddenly shattered and scattered into the void. A few more breaths later, the divine wave nation's emperor reappeared above, but this time it was his true body. The divine wave nation's emperor suddenly spoke, but it was Sufang's voice. True body, the divine wave nation's emperor has been possessed by me. However, I can only control the demon sealing imperial heavenly seal and cannot control the entire array formation to allow me to escape. Sufang wasn't worried at all. Don't worry, I have a way to escape. The divine wave nation's emperor, who had been possessed by his second primordial spirit, struck out a hand seal. The demon sealing imperial heavenly seal no longer released its power and flew into Sufang's hand. He absorbed it into the cauldron transformation inside his body and separated a young immortal, using the cauldron transformation's refining power to fuse with it. The demon-sealing imperial heavenly seal was in his hands. However, the crisis was still not over, and his second primordial spirit was unable to control the divine wave immortal world's will. He organized his thoughts. Sufang's eyes revealed a ruthless intent. Heaven's secret life shrinking technique. This was a peerless divine ability that was above all living beings and could blind fate. The more faith it had, the more it could crush any will. The only way to escape the divine wave nation's imperial mausoleum's array formation was to use the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique. However, the price he had to pay was a bit heavy, consuming his life force. Forget about it. If I delay for a few more days, the immortal emperor-level powerhouses will come here, and I will have nowhere to run. He began to use the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique. Sufang continuously chanted the essence of the great Tao with his primordial spirit. A large number of Tao runes gushed out of his mind, turning into an aura of nothingness that surged into the array formation barrier around him. Chi, the array formation barrier around him, was formed by generations of divine wave nations, emperors, and imperial powerhouses, combined with the will of the divine wave immortal realm, as well as the power of faith of countless people in the divine wave nation over countless years. However, the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique restrained the will of faith. As the Tao runes appeared, it was like a blazing sun releasing scorching energy, quickly melting the ice and snow. However, Sufang also paid a price for this. His temples had turned white. Fortunately, his body could now move, and he was slowly moving out. At this moment, a thunderous voice came from the blood jade in Luo Zai's body. This array formation barrier is the will of the entire divine wave immortal realm. When you escape from this void world, you will lose at least half of your life force. Then what should I do? You're really stupid. Isn't this will and the power of faith the best thing to cultivate the tyrannical emperor's heaven technique? Why don't you use the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique to absorb and control this power to cultivate the tyrannical emperor's heaven technique? Once you've integrated and refined enough power of faith, not to mention escaping, you can even control the array formation barrier here. Sufang wanted to slap himself. Why didn't he think of this? Chapter 12:12. The Divine Water Nation. Royal City, Heaven Prayer Altar. This was the place where the Divine Water Nation held their grand ceremony and offered sacrifices to their ancestors. Since the Divine Water Nation had a new ruler, they naturally had to inform heaven, earth, and their ancestors in order to gain the approval of the Divine Water Immortal World. At the same time, they also had to accept the faith of the people of the Divine Water Nation. Therefore, the new emperor's coronation ceremony was held at the Heaven Prayer Altar. On this day, the nobles and ministers at the Heaven Prayer Altar were all dressed in formal and solemn attire. The entire royal city, as well as the billions of citizens of the Divine Water Nation, as well as the native cultivators, all gathered in the direction of the Heaven Prayer Altar, waiting for the new emperor to ascend to the throne. Noon. 4 suns hung high in the sky, signaling the start of the coronation ceremony. A series of complicated procedures were carried out in an orderly manner. Everything went smoothly, and the expected disruption of the ceremony didn't occur. The crown prince of the Divine Water Nation wore a yellow robe and knelt to his ancestors, heaven and earth. Then he accepted the kneeling of the nobles, ministers, and citizens. Buzz wisps of ethereal power of faith, as well as the will of the Divine Water Immortal World formed by the past emperors and experts of the Divine Water Nation, were added to the new emperor's body. They transformed into a thick imperial aura that continued to condense on the new emperor's body. Immortal runes appeared on his imperial robe, and immortal clouds formed by the imperial aura swirled around him. Momentarily, the new emperor exuded a domineering aura, as if he were the ruler of this land. His every glance and gesture represented the will of this land. This wonderful feeling of controlling a piece of land made the new emperor feel very proud and awe-inspiring. The old eunuch standing next to the new emperor also let out a secret sigh of relief. Once the coronation ceremony was over, he could easily enter the imperial tomb, capture the old emperor, and take the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal. Then he could go to the god burial enclosure and take over the body of immortal Emperor Yu. From then on, the Night Demon clan would dominate this immortal realm. Thinking of this, the old eunuch's eyes shone with a bright light. Suddenly, the imperial aura that had just condensed on the new emperor suddenly fluctuated violently. Like a balloon that had been pricked by a needle, it instantly became very thin. The immortal runes on his imperial robe dimmed and shattered, and the immortal clouds around it became few and far between. It wasn't that they weren't recognized by the Divine Billow Immortal Realm, but that the will of the Divine Billow Immortal Realm, which had been condensed from the power of faith, had suddenly weakened a lot. As a result, the new emperor's aura became sparse. The new emperor, who had been mighty and domineering, suddenly lost his emperor's aura. How is this possible? Who is devouring the will of the Divine Billow Immortal World? Impossible. The old chamberlain and the new emperor were both stunned. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Little did they know that the culprit behind this abnormal situation was currently wantonly devouring the will of the Divine Billow Immortal World and the Void World inside the Imperial Mausoleum. Even the nobles and ministers on the Heaven Prayer Altar noticed the abnormality and were in an uproar. Lin Yihan, who was hiding in the crowd outside the Heaven Prayer Altar and waiting for an opportunity to strike, sensed that something was amiss. He sent a voice transmission to Emperor Ing, who was secretly observing everything. Lord Emperor Ing, something seems to have happened. Should we make a move now? The Crown Prince has already been recognized by the Divine Billow Immortal World. Right now, only he can enter the Divine Billow Immortal Realm's Imperial Mausoleum. No matter what has happened, capture him first. Following Emperor Ying's order, one figure after another appeared from the crowd. There were also a few experts among the nobles and ministers on the Heaven Prayer Altar who released their divine abilities and Tao artifacts. Their shocking auras covered the sky as they surged toward the new emperor. Lin Yihan also leaped into the air. His aura crushed the attacks of the guards that surrounded him. Then his 5 fingers fiercely grabbed at the new emperor like a tiger. Emperor Ning's residence really doesn't want to give up. The old chamberlain shouted coldly. He extended a finger and pointed at Lin Yihan from afar. It was as if all the energy in the world had gathered on that finger. An aura exploded, and Lin Yihan's aura was instantly shattered. He was sent flying. What a peerless, immortal emperor. Emperor's fist, boundless divine power. Lin Yihan ignored his injuries and attacked again. Activating his supreme Grey Dao artifact, he was clad in a mighty golden armor. His monarch chi interweaved into golden immortal runes on the armor, causing his monarch chi to fuse perfectly with the golden armor. Surprisingly, he managed to force the immortal emperor's chi away from him. He instantly formed a hand seal and activated the golden armor. An emperor chi suddenly flashed out. It was like a golden flame figure. His momentum was like thunder. Russell. Lin Yihan broke through the aura in front of him and punched at the old chamberlain. The Emperor Dao of the Tranquil Emperor Residence is truly extraordinary, the old chamberlain praised. He formed a hand seal with his right hand, and a shocking aura erupted from him as he collided with Lin Yihan's fist. Bang! Lin Yihan's aura was suppressed and then shattered. He was sent flying once more. His mighty golden armor also dimmed, and his immortal rune shattered. He coughed up a mouthful of blood. This time, he was seriously injured. The incomparably powerful Lin Yihan of the Tranquil Emperor Residence couldn't even withstand a single blow from an immortal emperor. Back down! It turned out that the Emperor Ying of the Tranquil Emperor Residence had finally made his move. The old chamberlain's eyes were solemn. He activated his divine might and stepped out of the heaven prayer altar to fight Emperor Ying. The two peerless immortal emperors fought intensely above King City. For a moment, the heaven prayer altar and the entire divine wave kingdom's capital were covered in darkness. Buildings were destroyed, and the city walls collapsed. Divine Wave Nation's imperial tomb. More than a dozen black-robed men stood in front of a huge tombstone, looking at King City. These black-robed men's auras were illusory. They were all elders. Even Sovereign Ba Mo and Sovereign Sai of the Celestial Devil Mountain were among them. The leader of the group was a peerless, handsome man. His face was elegant, and his skin was abnormally white. Even the most beautiful women would pale in front of him. His aura was vast and empty. His cultivation base was much higher than the others. He was unfathomable, comparable to an immortal emperor. This handsome man was the Devil World expert who lured Su Fong to the Thousand Flow training ground. There were more than a dozen giant gorilla devils around the tombstone. One of them was more than 100 meters tall. They were squatting on the ground, panting as they ate the corpses of the Imperial tomb guards. The scene was extremely bloody. Let the Tranquil Emperor Residence and the expert controlling the Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Palace fight to the death while we reap the benefits. My lord, this is a good plan, Sovereign Ba Mo suddenly said. He was a celestial Devil Mountain powerhouse, but he was actually trying to curry favor with this devilishly handsome man. No matter who the new emperor of the Divine Wave Nation ends up in, they will have to enter the void world inside the Imperial tomb from here. Once they're both injured, we'll rush here. Then, we can easily control the situation and enter the Imperial tomb to obtain the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. My lord is wise. Your plan is flawless, Sovereign Sai quickly said, as if he was afraid that Sovereign Ba Mo would steal the limelight. You humans are too stupid, said the Devil World man. Sovereign Ba Mo nodded. My lord is right. Human cultivators are too weak compared to the devil race. It's only a matter of time before we become their slaves. The Devil World man said, I went to the God Burial Enclosure this time and found out that as long as we have the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal, the Devil Sovereign who has been sealed for millions of years can be reborn. The demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal is the key. We can't make any mistakes. Yes, the Devil World man suddenly asked, when will the Celestial Devil Mountain cultivators be able to control the Divine Wave Immortal World? Sovereign Sai hurriedly answered, once we get the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal, we'll be able to flatten the Divine Wave Immortal World in less than 3 years. The Divine Wave Immortal World is not far from the secret camp I built in the Turbulent Abyss. It will be the springboard for the Devil race to sweep through the immortal realm. If we succeed, Celestial Devil Mountain will take the credit. You two will also make great contributions to the Devil race. you'll definitely be rewarded. You'll be able to surpass your current realm and become an immortal emperor or even an immortal emperor. Sovereign Ba-Mo and Sovereign Sai nodded, pleasantly surprised. The Devil World man smiled coldly, revealing his supreme arrogance. In the void realm inside the Imperial Mausoleum, Su Fong no longer resisted the divine power shackles coming from all directions. Instead, he put away the underworld reincarnation sword and let the flood-like divine power surround him. Boom! It rushed into Su Fong's body like a tidal wave, trying to destroy him. Humph! Su Fong was already prepared. He activated the life-shrinking art and used the divine power of fate to suppress and crush the power of will that rushed into his body, turning it into pure power of faith. Then, he activated the Overlord Emperor's heaven-soaring art and used the endless power of faith to cultivate the Qi of Emperors. Su Fong cultivated the Divine Emperor divine origin scripture in the small world, so his golden core of origin was full of Emperor seals. Now that he was cultivating the Overlord Emperor's heaven-soaring art, the Emperor's seals and his golden core of origin condensed into a giant golden ball, emitting a bright golden light and exuding an overbearing and dominating presence. His meridians and body were also full of Emperor's seals with a dominating divine power. Buzz, without Su Fong activating it, the purple Qi Dharma spirit suddenly moved. Streaks of purple light merged with the Emperor's seals. Even the golden ball and his golden core of origin was merged with the purple light, emitting a mysterious purple-golden light. At this time, Su Fong not only exuded a dominating presence, but also a supreme fate. It was as if his every move was in harmony with the laws of heaven and earth, and he had the supreme ability to resolve disasters and turn misfortunes into blessings. What is going on? How can the purple Qi Dharma spirit merge with the Qi of Emperors? Luo, do you know what is going on? Su Fong was dumbfounded. Luo replied from the blood jade in the depths of his body. I have never heard of it either. I speculate that this is probably because the Qi of Emperors and the purple Qi Dharma spirit both contain fate. That is why they can merge. The purple Qi Dharma spirit is formed by absorbing the fortune purple Qi. The fortune purple Qi represents fate and brings me luck. I understand the Qi of Emperors. The essence of the Qi of Emperors is actually the presence of Emperors, fate, and the power of kings. That is why the two can merge. That should be the reason. I just don't know what benefits the merging of the two will bring me. Of course there are benefits, and they are not ordinary benefits. The purple Qi Dharma spirit will make your dominating presence even more extraordinary. You will have the supreme aura of an emperor. In the future, it will be easier to control an immortal world. It will also increase the power of your supernatural powers and suppress the enemy's divine aura. And the Qi of Emperors will make your purple Qi Dharma spirit possess the dominating divine aura, making your luck even more exuberant and your ability to control magic treasure stronger. In this way, not only can I activate more power of the Samsara Sword, but I can also activate the Heavenly Dipper Creation Cauldron and the Xianming Thunder Archive. This unexpected gain surprised Su Fong. He continued to activate the Tyrannical Emperor's Heaven Technique and the Divine Secret Life Shrinking Technique to frantically devour the surrounding formation barriers. Due to the constant activation of the Divine Secret Life Shrinking Technique, Su Fong's life force was consumed. His hair turned gray and his appearance was rapidly aging. However, compared to the gains, these losses were worth it. Chapter 12:13. Su Fongdao wantonly swallowed. The surrounding array barriers continued to collapse, and the shackles of the divine power gradually weakened. On the other hand, Su Fong's sovereign's divine aura, which was formed from the fusion of the purple Qi Dharma spirit and the sovereign's aura, became more and more intense. The will of the divine wave nation's past emperors and royal family experts, as well as the power of faith, actually felt fear and even submitted to him. Suddenly, Su Fong formed a seal and grabbed towards the void. Chains condensed by the will of the divine wave immortal world suddenly flew towards Su Fong and fell into his hand. At first, they were struggling, But Su Fang's supreme, domineering aura shook, and the chains broke, turning into faith power and very obediently drilled into his body. The combination of the purple Qi law spirit and the Emperor Qi had supreme, domineering aura above the will of the divine wave immortal world, and could make it surrender. Su Fang was once again shocked by the ability of the purple Qi law spirit. The purple Qi law spirit was formed by absorbing the great pregnant purple Qi, the spirit of heaven and earth. It represented the unpredictable power of the heavenly Tao, causing Su Fang's Emperor Qi to mutate and have incredible power. At the same time, Su Fang's heart was filled with a sense of urgency. The third part of the purple Qi law spirit fell into the hands of immortal Emperor Tian'an. He controlled a great world and must have cultivated the way of the emperor. Maybe he already had the same ability as Su Fang. He must improve his strength as soon as possible and get the third part of the purple Qi law spirit as soon as possible, otherwise it would become more and more difficult. While constantly swallowing the will of the divine wave immortal world, Su Fang's previous young immortal also began to merge with the demon sealing emperor heavenly seal in the crucible transformation world. At first, refining the demon sealing emperor heavenly seal was very difficult. There was an ancient and vigorous aura inside, and Su Fang's purple Qi law spirit could not control it. It also rejected Su Fang's blood essence. The demon sealing emperor heavenly seal was a peak top grade Tao artifact. It was difficult for ordinary cultivators to refine, but should not be difficult for Su Fang. Luo said, "The demon sealing emperor heavenly seal should be a family inheritance Tao artifact. Only the possessor of the divine wave nation's royal bloodline can refine it. I can even activate a peerless treasure like the underworld reincarnation sword. I can't refine a peak top-grade Tao artifact. If you don't want me to be your master, then I'll make you surrender." Su Fang's supreme domineering aura. When the blood essence and the unparalleled Emperor's Qi, the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth also released a surge of yin and yang divine might that surged into the demon sealing royal celestial seal. The demon sealing imperial heavenly seal set off a shocking vibration. This vibration even affected Su Fang. "Suppress me." The Emperor heavenly seal. This aura Emperor heavenly seals the demon sealing Emperor heavenly seal's aura was Tao in seals, and the Dao's aura. The demon Tao, the aura of the Dao's the in Tao heavenly Emperor Tao of the Tao. The blood seeped into the demon sealing Emperor heavenly seal like a sponge absorbing water. The young immortal entered the Tao artifact's internal space. A large number of arrays, immortal arrays, handprints, immortal patterns, and immortal marks intertwined to form a huge world. Most of them were sealing arrays, and they were all ancient arrays. They were very powerful. It would take at least 10 years to fully integrate all of them. Only then could the demon sealing Emperor heavenly seal release the seal. I'll first master the handprints to control the Imperial Mausoleum's array barrier. After leaving the inner void world, I'll try to refine them all. Su Fang was not in a hurry to fully integrate them. He wanted to use the demon sealing Emperor heavenly seal to leave the inner void world of the Imperial Mausoleum first. If he delayed too long, it would be troublesome once the immortal emperors arrived. With Su Fang's current ability to control Tao artifacts, it was easy to integrate a small part of the demon sealing Emperor heavenly seal's array. It was completed in less than 2 hours. Suddenly, rumble, a loud sound came from afar, and the entire void world shook violently. Su Fang was shocked. He hurriedly activated the heavenly secret life shrinking technique and looked over with his perfected ability. He saw a big hole in the seal above the void world. It was as if someone had forcefully torn a crack with a big hand. Whoosh, one figure after another stepped out of the crack. Seeing the beautiful man in black, Su Fang's heart skipped a beat. Law's voice thundered in his body. "It's a heavenly demon from the demon world. You're not his match. Run." Su Fang certainly knew how powerful this demon race expert was. He was now in human form. Once he transformed into a heavenly demon, his strength would probably be comparable to an immortal emperor. The heavenly demons under him were more powerful than the elders. Moreover, the two giants of the heavenly demon mountain, Lord Ba-Mo and Lord Sai-Shue, were also peerless powerhouses at the great elder level. However, with his path blocked, where could he escape to? Human cultivator. The beautiful demon race man raised his eyebrows sharply. His eyes were burning with a shocking demonic light. Someone beat us to it. The heavenly demons behind him, as well as the two giants of the heavenly demon mountain, were also stunned. They couldn't believe it. Die to the nine, nether heaven-covering hand. Go! A mighty figure burst out from the demon race man's eyes. It instantly formed a finger seal and swept through the air towards Su Fang. It felt like this palm could crush everything in front of it. The sharpness of the claw seal actually caused the chains to collapse. With an unstoppable momentum, it charged towards Su Fang. Whoosh! Su Fang struck out with the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal and activated the power of the Tao artifact. He controlled the surrounding barrier chains to form a shocking defense in front of him. Boom! Boom! The palm seal was blocked. The barrier array contained the will of the entire divine billow immortal realm. It had a powerful, shackling divine power. The demon race man's attack was at the elder level. After all, Su Fang was only a mystic immortal cultivator. Unexpectedly, Su Fang could control the barrier array to form a defense and easily block the demon race man's attack. Impossible! The demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal. This human cultivator has refined the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal. We can't let him go. Cries of alarm rushed toward Su Fang like a gust of wind. You want to catch me? Not so easy. Su Fang activated the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal to form shackles behind him as he flew toward the mountain where the divine billow emperor and the royal experts were buried. Fortunately, he had already merged with most of the divine billow immortal realm's will. Coupled with the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal, the barrier array didn't affect him at all. Instead, it allowed him to move smoothly like a fish in water. Heavenly demon movement technique. The demon race expert suddenly transformed into a heavenly demon. The skin on his face tore and the muscles on his face wriggled. Then all the muscles on his body rapidly expanded. A single horn appeared on his head. His ears stood up like a bat's, and his chin became sharp. His entire person had completely changed. His aura suddenly skyrocketed. Like a battleship, he shuttled through the layers of barrier array. His speed wasn't much slower than ordinary cultivators flying in the air. He broke countless chains along the way. Human ant, stay here. In an instant, the demon race man was less than 60 meters away from Su Fang. What a terrifying demon race expert. His current strength is definitely at the level of an immortal emperor. Su Fang was shocked. At this moment, his breathing almost stopped. Then a ruthless light flashed in his eyes. So what if you're an immortal emperor? Even an immortal emperor can shake you. Life origin state. Su Fang gave orders to the experts in Big Goblin. After forming the seal, the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda flew out of the void dust cauldron. Su Fang activated his life origin magic treasure. The experts in Big Goblin and Su Fang's body began to use their true qi, magic power, and demonic power to support the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. Then, they merged with Su Fang's body. Tyrannical Emperor's Fist. Su Fang activated the Emperor's qi in his body and unleashed a divine ability from the Tyrannical Emperor's heaven-soaring art. He released an unparalleled, domineering aura. With a punch, he gathered all the will and faith power in the surroundings and surged towards the demon race man like a torrential flood. After devouring Yu Jingnian's Dao body, he had perfect control over all kinds of divine abilities and divine abilities. In addition, the mysterious yellow pagoda had leveled up. The strength of Su Fang, the experts and Big Goblin in his body, had also increased greatly. At this moment, his punch could kill any expert below the Six Paths realm of world immortals. Su Fong didn't dare to continue the fight because he was worried about the numerous demon race and demon race experts behind him. Moreover, the experts from Emperor Ning's residence and Demon Knight were about to arrive. Therefore, he didn't use any other means. If he let his second primordial spirit attack directly, this demon race expert, who was comparable to an immortal emperor expert, would suffer a great loss. After the demon race man transformed into a heavenly demon, although his strength had skyrocketed to the immortal emperor level, he was shackled by the divine power of the formation barrier, which was constantly weakening his strength. In the face of Su Fong's violent attack, his expression changed abruptly and his eyes flashed with astonishment. Hong Long Long, an earth-shattering explosion occurred. The demon race man was forced to retreat more than 30 meters. His black robe was tattered, revealing his ugly and ferocious heavenly demon body. On his heavenly demon face, there was also a gash. Although it wasn't big, black devil blood was oozing out of it. Su Fong didn't feel good either. He hadn't recovered much of the true qi he had consumed to activate the Samsara sword. Now, when he collided with the qi of an immortal emperor expert, he felt like he was hit by a mountain. He spurted out a mouthful of blood. However, with the help of this force, he took the opportunity to land on a mountain peak and disappeared. I don't know how many tens of thousands of years I haven't been injured. Today, I was actually injured by a human ant. Very good. The demon race man stuck out a blood-red tongue from his mouth and licked the wound on his face. He grinned hideously. The qi of this human cultivator is actually somewhat familiar. The heavenly seal of the demon sealing emperor has fallen into his hands and has been refined and integrated with. We can't let him escape. The demon race man ordered coldly. Step by step, he broke the formation barrier and walked toward the mountain peak where Su Fong had disappeared. The dozen heavenly demons and the two giants of the heavenly demon mountain weren't as calm as this demon race expert. The surrounding area was condensed from the will of the entire divine, billow, immortal world. The divine power shackles were astonishing. Even immortal emperor-level experts were restricted, let alone them. However, because the formation barrier had been weakened by Su Fong, the divine power shackles were far less powerful than before. The demon race expert and the two experts of the heavenly demon mountain burst out their qi. The dozen gorilla demons also sprayed out devil qi and devil poison. They advanced with all their strength, breaking the chains in front of them. However, at this moment, swoosh, swoosh, swoosh figures appeared in the void world inside the Imperial Mausoleum. It turned out that Yi Mei and the expert of the Tranquility Emperor's residence, Emperor Ing, were fighting over the new emperor in Monarch City when they sensed that the formation outside the Imperial Mausoleum had been destroyed. Someone had forcibly broken into the Imperial Mausoleum. The two immortal emperor-level experts were both shocked and angry. Naturally, they wouldn't fight anymore. They led their experts straight to the Imperial Mausoleum. Demon race, heavenly demons. The old attendant and Emperor Ing saw it first and immediately cried out in alarm. We can't let the demon race get the heavenly seal of the demon sealing emperor. Emperor Ing shouted and attacked the demon race expert. The old attendant was even more anxious than Emperor Ing. He had carefully planned everything. Now that he saw that it was on the verge of success, how could he not be anxious? He wanted to vent his anger on those demon race experts. The demon race, Lord Ba Mo and Lord Sai Shui, suddenly became the targets of the two forces. They didn't have time to search for Su Fong. Chapter 12:14. As soon as Su Fong landed on the mountain peak, he immediately let the Wuling goblin come out, and the latter swallowed him into its stomach. Then, he used the Emperor's qi to activate the demon sealing Emperor's heavenly seal, attracting the will of the divine billow immortal world and the void world to support the Wuling goblin. At the same time, he also activated the mysterious yellow pagoda's earth-type divine power to merge with the Wuling goblin. Then, the Wuling goblin turned into a stone belt and quickly climbed down the mountain peak. Su Fong quickly swallowed medicinal pills in the Wuling goblin's stomach to recover the consumed true qi in his body. After more than 100 miles away, the Wuling goblin drilled into a mountain peak and drilled into an underground royal tomb built in the belly of the mountain. The tomb was protected by seals both inside and outside. Su Fong activated the yellow spring blood sea and turned into a blood belt, cleverly shuttling through the cracks of the seal and the stone door of the tomb into the tomb. This was not the end. Su Fong once again activated the Heaven's secret life, shrinking technique to cut off his own aura. This time, his head turned white and his face became a little older. Then, he created an array around him before entering the crucible transformation realm. In this way, the immortal emperor-level powerhouse could not find him. Su Fong's injuries were not light when he collided with the Devil World expert whose strength was comparable to an immortal emperor-level powerhouse. The Devil Chi entered his body and seriously damaged his body. His internal organs and meridians were constantly eroded by the Devil Chi. That was an immortal emperor-level powerhouse, which Su Fong could not fight head-on. Of course, if Su Fong was given the right opportunity to use all kinds of methods, Dao artifacts, and second primordial spirit, it was not impossible to kill that Devil World expert. In addition, the continuous use of the Heaven's secret life, shrinking technique, consumed a lot of vitality, losing at least 1,000 years of life. Devil race, you chased me twice in a row. I, Su Fong, will return this hatred tenfold. Su Fong's eyes flashed with a cold light. Luo's voice came from the blood jade. This time, although you lost a lot of vitality and suffered serious injuries, the gains are far greater than the losses. To be able to fight with an immortal emperor-level devil, the speed of your growth shocked me. This is far from enough. Once I leave the void world of the Imperial Tomb and enter the God Burial Enclosure, I'll be able to obtain the body of immortal Emperor Yu from the Divine Wave Country's imperial ancestor. With that, I'll be able to kill immortal emperors. Only then will I be barely qualified to stand among the major powers. You haven't been cultivating for long enough. In just over 1,000 years, you have reached a height that other cultivators would not be able to reach even after hundreds of thousands of years. If you were given 1,000,000 years, you might really be able to step out of the great immortal plane and ascend to the myriad heavens. 1,000,000 years is still too far away. Now, the demon world has already revealed its ferocious fangs. The calamity has already begun. Time is of the essence. We have to seize every moment. With a thought, Whoosh, the Divine Wave Nation's emperor, who was possessed by his second primordial spirit, came to the crucible transformation world. Second primordial spirit, go outside and check out the situation. If there's a chance, capture a few experts or heavenly demons for me to cultivate and recover. Easy. Second primordial spirit's voice was cold and murderous. Ever since he had fused with the 5 imprints, second primordial spirit's murderous aura had become even denser. It was somewhat different from Su Fong's personality. Be careful not to be discovered. After all, there are immortal emperor-level experts and night demon. Don't worry. Even if there are immortal emperor-level experts, they can't do anything to me. If I can seize the body of an immortal emperor, that would be even better. Whoosh! Second primordial spirit shot out from the Divine Wave Nation's emperor's forehead. It turned into a black Xianguang and left the crucible transformation realm. Seize the body of an immortal emperor expert. Su Fong was stunned. Second primordial spirit was really bold. However, it did have such a supreme primordial spirit ability. Then, he called Green Feather Monarch. Green Feather Monarch, I'll leave the Divine Wave Nation's emperor's body to you. This person is hateful. It's too easy for him to die like this. Green Feather Monarch swallowed the Divine Wave Nation's emperor's body in one gulp. His hatred didn't diminish. He bit the body in two. The big goblin was just that fierce. Yellow spring blood sea. Blood burst out of the body, turning into a shocking state of blood that was nearly 100 feet long. It gave people a feeling of surging turbulence. High-grade elixirs and spiritual objects were refined into spiritual liquid by the crucible transformation realm and thrown into the blood. The blood kept boiling, swallowing the spiritual liquid and emitting sizzling sparks. During this time, second primordial spirit controlled a heavenly demon to come to the tomb. It also brought the news from above. It turned out that Emperor Ning's mansion and night demon rushed to the void world inside the imperial mausoleum and fought with the experts of the demon world. As a result, the array barrier was completely broken. The entire void world was no longer shackled by divine power. The three sides had casualties. The heavenly demon's body brought by second primordial spirit was seriously injured in the fierce battle. Second primordial spirit took the opportunity to seize the body. Moreover, the expert of the demon world was also seriously injured by the old inner servant and Emperor Ing. He escaped from the imperial mausoleum with the heavenly demons from the demon world, Monarch Ba and Mo, and Blood Monarch Sai. The overall strength of the demon world was very strong. If they really escaped, the old inner servant and Emperor Ing couldn't stop them. However, the expert of Emperor Ning's mansion and night demon didn't leave, because the new emperor had a secret method of the divine wave nation. He sensed that the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal was not in the hands of the demon world. Therefore, he concluded that it was still in the void world and was looking for it. People from other forces also came. There were those who knew that Su Fong had come to the divine wave immortal world, but didn't find any trace of Su Fong. They had been staying in the divine wave immortal world. Now that there was such a big movement in the imperial mausoleum, it was impossible that they didn't know. They believed that it wouldn't be long before more experts came. Let them look for it slowly. I'm not in a hurry anyway. Wait until the day I walk out of the tomb. Su Fong sneered, his eyes exuding cold, killing intent. There was another unexpected thing. As the array barrier collapsed, the strong death chi that filled the void world inside the imperial mausoleum suddenly became thin. No one knew why. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. He was also puzzled. He then said, Second primordial spirit, continue to pay attention to the movements above. Second primordial spirit then said, many of the gluttonous demons brought by the demon world were killed by Emperor Ning's mansion and night demon, including the largest gluttonous demon. I can control the gluttonous demon's body, so I can't bring it back. It's a pity to leave it outside. Whoosh! Gui's figure appeared beside Su Fong. This guy was smart. Go devour the gluttonous demon's body. Your strength will definitely increase a lot, and it will be helpful to me. Su Fong nodded to Gui. Gui let out a cheerful cry and immediately collapsed his body, turning into the blood of the underworld state. With a whoosh, he drilled out of the gap of the tomb's seal. Second primordial spirit ignored the seal and turned into a stream of light, leaving the tomb directly with a whoosh. Su Fong's consciousness threw the abundant essence and demon chi in the heavenly demon's body into the blood of the underworld. It was swallowed and merged. Su Fong opened the heavenly demon seal and absorbed the demon chi into his golden core origin, becoming a demon chi seed. Days passed. Su Fong's injuries slowly recovered. He was still cultivating in the blood of the underworld state. At the same time, he used the 9-yang 9 transformations. The 9-yang true chi and 9-yang true fire burned wildly. The world fragment's power also seeped in, gathering the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the tomb together with the ethereal truth. At this time, something unexpected happened. The tomb was filled with thick death chi, which was tightly integrated with the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. It cannot be separated. It entered Su Fong's body as he used his cultivation method. If other cultivators cultivated in this environment and absorbed the death chi, the consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore, when cultivators cultivated, they would stay away from tombs, gardens, or places with dense yin chi and death chi. Su Fong's 9-yang true chi was the ultimate yang energy of heaven and earth. It could devour any evil energy, so nothing was taboo. What Su Fong did not expect was that this time, the death chi that entered his body was refined by the 9-yang true chi and turned into a special kind of yin chi. Immediately, it caused an intense change and caused a huge commotion in the 24th yang meridian. The 24th yang meridian in his body was about to be born successfully. Su Fong was excited. He used all his strength to activate the 9-yang meridian 9 transformations. He gathered all his strength to attack the yin-yang Tao wheel formed by the 23 yang meridians again and again, forming a pure yang true fire that burned wildly. Su Fang also activated the origin's sacred ground in his body. Then, he let the 9 yin qi enter his body and fuse it with the 9 yang energy. Using the changes in the heaven and earth Tao palace when he broke through, Su Fang also cultivated the underworld samsara sword with the help of the sword spirit. At the newest meridian, the pure yang true fire burned wildly. The meridian was attacked by the yang energy again and again, and there was a distorted aura that swelled to the point of explosion. It felt like it was going to shatter at any moment. Qi, a beam of pure yang light, swept from one end of the meridian to the other end. It then covered the entire heaven and earth Tao palace and swept from the heaven and earth Tao palace to the new meridian. In an instant, all the pure yang true fire and yang qi returned to the heaven and earth Tao palace formed by the yang meridians. The newly born 24th meridian turned into a jade-like yang meridian. The 24th yang meridian actively approached the last yang meridian in the heaven and earth Tao palace and connected their tails, forming an additional yang meridian to form the heaven and earth Tao palace. With the breakthrough, Su Fang's lost lifespan was completely recovered. Using this opportunity to cultivate the underworld samsara sword, he also gained a lot. His control of the underworld samsara sword also increased by a lot. The 9 yang 9 transformations is indeed a peerless technique that surpasses any technique in the world. Not only did it allow me to become a godhead possessor, it can even cultivate death qi. It's incredible. If this is the case, the changes in the world caused by the rise of the fourth sun not only have no effect on my cultivation, but also have great benefits. Su Fang was surprised and delighted. In the blood jade, Law was also very envious. I can only say that your luck is too good to have obtained such a peerless technique. This is all because of the good luck brought to me by the purple Qi Dharma spirit. Therefore, I must get the third part of the purple Qi Dharma spirit. I must also make a trip to the boundless secular palace to find out the origin of the purple Qi Dharma spirit. Next, he continued to fuse the heavenly cauldron of good fortune, the samsara sword, and the Xianming thunder archive. With the improvement of his cultivation realm and the accidental fusion of the Emperor's Qi and the purple Qi Dharma spirit, his control of magic treasures had increased a lot. At this time, he should be able to activate a part of the heavenly cauldron of good fortune's power to improve the grade of the 3 magic treasures and refine the imprint made by Night Demon. The Samsara sword showed a powerful and strange ability for the first time, which made Su Fang even more eager to fully control this peerless Taoist instrument. As for the Xianming Thunder Archive, without a peerless technique of the thunder attribute, and with his cultivation realm far from enough, it was still difficult to activate a trace of its power for the time being. The inheritance of the Underworld Emperor's Dojo had only been digested a little. It needed time to settle down and could not be rushed. Whoosh, a black ribbon of blood drilled into the tomb. It was Gui Gui. Gui Gui condensed into a physical state and spat out a blood-colored black stone the size of a basin from the mouth on her chest. Frost Soul Blood Fetus. Gui Gui, you actually found a Frost Soul Blood Fetus. Seeing this thing that seemed to be condensed from blood, Su Fang was surprised and happy. He was so excited that he kept exclaiming. Law suddenly said, I really can't help but envy your luck. The last time you fused with a piece of Frost Soul Blood Fetus, it made the Underworld Blood Sea undergo an amazing change, and your magical power also transformed. This time, you found another piece, and your Underworld Blood Sea will definitely go further. Moreover, it is very likely that you will take this opportunity to break through the mysterious immortal realm and step into the feather immortal realm. Su Fang was also excited and rubbed his hands, his heart full of expectations. Chapter 12:15. Frost Soul Blood Fetus. It was refined by Demon World experts using the blood essence of Big Goblin and human experts, as well as the purple river placenta of pregnant human women. It was extremely cruel and evil, but it contained supreme essence. It was perfect for cultivating the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. Outside the Thousand Flow Dao field, Su Fong had accidentally obtained a frost soul blood fetus from a huge gluttonous demon's body. The Yellow Springs Blood Sea underwent a shocking change because of it, and he had a certain level of control over it. The frost soul blood fetus that he obtained this time looked even bigger than the previous one. Su Fong was looking forward to seeing what would happen to the Yellow Springs Blood Sea after the fusion. Yellow Springs Blood Sea. The method of fusing with the Frost Soul Blood Sea was very simple. You just needed to use the Yellow Springs Blood Sea to devour and fuse with it. Su Fong directly transformed into a bloodwater state. Whoosh! A wisp of consciousness threw the Frost Soul Blood fetus into the bloodwater. The bloodwater churned as the Frost Soul Blood fetus immediately turned into a shocking blood aura. It automatically fused with the bloodwater like salt being thrown into water. There was no need for any complicated process. Gurgle, the Frost Soul Blood fetus, rapidly melted as if a fire had been added to the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. The bloodwater boiled as the flames of life rose. It was shocking. Furthermore, Su Fong could clearly sense that his control over the Yellow Springs Blood Sea was improving bit by bit. This feeling was wonderful and comfortable. His confidence also increased. The Frost Soul Blood fetus did not look very big, but contained countless big goblin, humans, and purple river placenta. It was extremely evil. As the Frost Soul Blood fetus continued to fuse with the bloodwater, Su Fong's young, immortal consciousness saw blurry black shadows. They seemed to be demonic shadows. They were densely packed and gathered together. They carried a monstrous evil aura, and resentment as they tried to devour Su Fong's essence soul. My essence soul is extremely powerful. Although the evil intent in the Frost Soul Blood fetus is powerful, it can't affect my essence soul. I can use it to cultivate the Heavenly Demon Book and make my second essence soul stronger. Intent could help improve the essence soul. Furthermore, the Heavenly Demon Book was a demon Dao mystical ability derived from intent. It could help Su Fong condense the power of his essence soul. Su Fong sent a voice transmission. Second primordial spirit, come. Swooshe black Xian Guang appeared above the pool of blood, giving off a strong yang immortal aura. Su Fong asked, "Is there any movement in the Imperial Mausoleum's void realm?" More and more forces are coming to the void world of the Imperial Mausoleum to search for the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. Even the demons who escaped last time have changed their appearances and energy and returned. Night Demon and Emperor Ing are guarding the exit of the void world. As soon as they sense the energy of the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal, they will snatch it. Looks like they are really determined to get the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. Let's ignore them for now. When more and more forces get wind of this, we'll find an opportunity to sneak our way out. If you want to leave, it's very easy. The second primordial spirit was very arrogant. At this moment, it was strong enough to fight against a supreme, immortal emperor. Of course, this was because it had the qualifications to be arrogant. Second primordial spirit, I'm fusing with the Ice Soul Blood fetus. There's a strong, evil intent inside. I'm using the 9 Yang Godly Might and pure Yang Godly Might to suppress it and convert it into pure intent. You can use it to cultivate the Heavenly Demon Book and increase your power. Very good. The blood tumbled and condensed into Su Fong's body. He activated the Tao Palace and released the pure Yang Godly Might that could restrain and refine all evil intents. He turned the demonic shadow obtained from the Ice Soul Blood fetus into Yin Qi and transferred it to the second primordial spirit. The second primordial spirit also activated the supreme magical powers of the Heavenly Demon Blood Plate. After cultivation, the power of the primordial spirit was constantly increasing. It would take a few years to fuse with the Ice Soul Blood fetus. While Su Fong cultivated the second primordial spirit, he also cultivated other cultivation techniques and magical powers. With the help of the supreme essence of the Ice Soul Blood fetus, his strength was rapidly improving. The experts under him, the Big Goblin, also constantly improved their overall strength with the help of almost inexhaustible resources. Good news kept coming from the Crucible Transformation Realm. With the help of the Crucible Transformation Realm and Su Fang's world of Yin and Yang, the Wuling Goblin actually managed to fuse with the world fragment. He became the second big goblin after the Green Feather King to possess a world fragment. From now on, his strength and cultivation speed would increase by several times. In the future, Su Fang would be even more helpful. The Vermilion Sovereign was unable to refine the world fragment found for the Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Teacher, who was controlled by Night Demon. Then, the Ghoul also made a breakthrough. The Ghoul's devouring ability was originally stronger than Su Fang's Yellow Springs Blood Sea. Since the Ghoul also cultivated the Yellow Springs Blood Sea, its speed, poison, and devouring ability had also undergone a transformation. This time, after devouring the corpse of a giant gluttonous demon, the Ghoul underwent another astonishing transformation. The Ghoul's body became very tall, like an iron tower. Its upper body was abnormally thick, and there was a big mouth on its chest like the gluttonous demon's. Its whole body emitted a strong, bloody, and evil aura, looking like the fusion of the Grim Reaper and the Devil. After the transformation, the Ghoul could probably even devour those powerful elders. Its ability to create poison runes and the toxicity of the runes would definitely be much stronger than before. Good news came one after another. The Heavenly Creation Cauldron also began to move. The Heavenly Creation Cauldron was a King Grey Dao artifact that surpassed the best Dao artifact. Moreover, it was different from other Dharma artifacts. Its body was huge, and the array inside it was infinite. It was very difficult to fuse with it. To activate it, one would need a powerful strength. Su Fang could barely rely on the artifact spirit to improve the quality of the 3 Dharma artifacts. Unexpectedly, while cultivating, he peeled off a young immortal to further fuse with the Heavenly Creation Cauldron. At this time, it was completely fused. Previously, when the Emperor Qi and the Purple Qi Dharma Spirit fused, it increased Su Fang's ability to control Dao artifacts. Being able to fuse with the Heavenly Creation Cauldron was definitely related to this. Inside, the Heavenly Creation Cauldron was a hazy world. Arrays, immortal arrays, hand seals, immortal runes, and immortal marks intertwined to form a vast world. Fusing with it was one thing. Being able to activate it was another. If Su Fang wanted to truly activate the Heavenly Creation Cauldron and use it to refine Dharma artifacts, he would need a long time to master these arrays and immortal marks. Su Fang was not in a hurry. Now, he only needed to master a few arrays to activate the Heavenly Creation Cauldron and use it to refine the imprint that the Lord of the Dark World had personally refined, as well as to improve the quality of the 3 Dharma artifacts. As for the rest, he could slowly comprehend and control them. If he wanted to fully control a King Grey Dao artifact, he definitely could not rush it. The Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda, the Starry Daylight Sword, and the Flaming Cloud Spiritual Gourd, these 3 Dharma artifacts were just around the corner. After refining and fusing with the imprint, his second primordial spirit would definitely become stronger. Of course, as a second primordial spirit continued to grow stronger, the effect of fusing with the imprint would slowly weaken. Gurgle, sizzle. The blood that had fused with the Frost Soul Blood fetus was constantly boiling, burning with an amazing flame of life. At this moment, Su Fang felt the changes brought about by the fusion of the Frost Soul Blood fetus. The ability to control the Acheron Blood Sea had reached a point where he could do as he pleased. In the state of blood water, not only could he easily control various abilities, but he could also control divine abilities as if he was in his physical state. However, at this time, in the state of blood water, he could not activate more than 2 divine abilities at the same time. He was still far from the perfect state of the Acheron Blood Sea and cultivating the Acheron True Body, let alone creating the immortal blood spirit. Of course, Su Fang did not dare to create the immortal blood spirit. Once the immortal blood spirit appeared in nature, it would be sensed by the will of heaven and earth. At that time, it would be more than just a little trouble. However, in the Acheron Blood Sea, he could use this method of controlling the Blood Sea to cultivate the Acheron Blood Sea. Therefore, Su Fong had been cultivating the immortal blood spirit. More than half of the Frost Soul blood fetus had been fused. Su Fong had to stop because he felt that he could break through the peak of the 9th Xian immortal realm at any time and step into the Feather immortal realm. To break through to the Feather immortal realm, one had to go through the 9 heavenly tribulations. This tomb was not a place to break through, not to mention that there were so many experts outside searching. He had just turned into his physical state and came out of the crucible transformation. Crack! Suddenly, there was a slight movement in the main tomb next door. The tomb that Su Fong was in at this time was a place that was specially used to place funerary objects. Next door was the main tomb where the coffin was placed. Could it be? Su Fong thought of a possibility. His heart thumped and his back broke out in cold sweat. Crack! The movement was getting louder and louder. Su Fong activated the Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda and entered his natal state. He used the Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda's earth elemental power to strengthen his body. He placed his palm on the stone wall and used his earth elemental power to penetrate the stone wall. Then he activated his Great Perfection stage ability. Buzz, the scenery in the main tomb, was clearly seen by the Great Perfection stage ability. In the middle of the empty main tomb, there was a huge stone coffin. There were exquisite patterns and patterns carved on it, indicating that the owner of the coffin was a member of the Divine Wave Nation's imperial family. There was a seal on the coffin as well, but the tremendous impact coming from the coffin caused the immortal runes to shatter one after another. Spiderweb-like cracks began to appear on the coffin, which was made of incomparably hard materials. It was as if a monster was about to come out of the coffin. The Divine Wave Nation's imperial family that has been dead for God knows how many tens of thousands of years has been revived. Although Su Fong had expected such an outcome, seeing a corpse come back to life in front of him still scared him to the point that his heart was beating wildly. It was too terrifying, and it made his hair stand on end. Boom! With a loud sound, the seal on the coffin shattered, and the coffin shattered. Then, a strange roar that didn't sound like a beast's or a human's roar rang out. A withered hand slowly rose and pressed on the shattered coffin. A figure slowly stood up. Su Fong took a look and immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. This figure was wearing a yellow robe and a crown on his head. The yellow robe was already tattered, but the crown had a Xian Guang on it. It was a mid-grade Dao artifact. As for this person's appearance, the skin that was exposed outside was dry and black. There was a large hole in his face, revealing the already black bones inside. One of his eyes was shriveled, while the other was empty, flashing with a dark green light. The corpse's mouth suddenly opened and took a deep breath. Whoosh, like a whirlwind, the thick death chi in the tomb was sucked into its stomach, creating a whistling sound. Puff, puff, puff. The corpse's withered skin that was like a dead tree's bark actually swelled up and became lustrous, but it was a kind of miserable green luster. On the surface, the corpse didn't look like a withered corpse, but it was strange, evil, and terrifying. Roar! A thick, rotting aura of death suddenly exploded from the corpse. The entire tomb, including the mountain peak, shook and dust rustled down. This corpse's strength is at least at the level of a special disciple. How terrifying! Su Fong was completely shocked. He didn't expect that the resurrected cultivator would become so powerful. Boom, boom, boom. The corpse walked stiffly, and the bones also made a hair-raising, grinding sound. It walked in front of the stone door, and it seemed like it was planning to break through the door. Chapter 12:16. Su Fong was very surprised. This Divine Wave Nation's royal family has been dead for many years. Does he still have consciousness? Law's voice came from the blood jade deep in his body. Of course, corpses don't have consciousness. They're just a wisp of soul and remnant thoughts. After absorbing the evil energy of heaven and earth, they have the instinct to devour all life. Cultivator corpses can become very troublesome after resurrection. You have to be careful. Su Fong was puzzled. Since cultivators lose their consciousness after resurrection, they can't have their divine abilities. Where does their strength come from? Law refused to say more. When the fourth sun rises, heaven and earth will be filled with evil energy. Countless corpses will be resurrected. You'll encounter many more in the future. This time, you'd better deal with them yourself. You can learn how to deal with resurrected cultivators. Otherwise, you won't be able to deal with a truly powerful resurrected cultivator. This corpse isn't very strong. It's good for practice. Su Fong was very confident. Who in the main tomb? The resurrected divine wave nation's royal family suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a black corpse poison on the stone door. Sizzle, black smoke rose from the hard stone door. Even the seal on the stone door was corroded by the corpse poison. What a powerful corpse poison. Although it's not as strong as Gui Gui, it's about the same as the gluttonous demon's poison. Su Fong was shocked. He didn't expect the corpse to have such an attack method. Then, the corpse's hand suddenly clenched into a fist. It was as if all the death energy and evil energy in the surroundings had gathered in his fist. He slammed it on the stone door with an unstoppable force. Heaven and earth essence extraction. How can a corpse use heaven and earth essence extraction? Su Fong's eyes were filled with disbelief. Law replied from the depths of his body. It can be considered heaven and earth essence extraction. However, it's not the essence of heaven and earth. It's evil energy and death energy. Resurrected cultivators are born from the evil energy of heaven and earth. Naturally, they have the ability to absorb the evil energy of heaven and earth. What's so strange about that? A corpse borrowing evil energy. Is it the same as borrowing power from the stars? Can it use some powerful divine ability? Not to that extent. At most, it's some simple attacks released by condensing the evil energy. It's not a divine ability, but its power is extraordinary. It also has some special abilities that divine abilities don't have. Law, you're knowledgeable. In some special places where the aura of death is relatively strong, with the passage of time and other factors, cultivators can be resurrected. I've encountered resurrected cultivators before, and they were more than 100 times stronger than the one you're seeing now. Rumble, the sealed stone door of the main burial chamber, together with the seal on it, suddenly shattered, and the corpse rushed out from the rubble. Hee, as if sensing Su Fong's aura, the corpse's empty eye sockets suddenly flashed with a dim light. It opened its mouth, revealing its eerie white teeth. With a terrifying sound, it reached out to grab Su Fong. An intense aura of death blew at Su Fong's face. An evil will that was filled with death and decay was trying to influence and even dominate Su Fong's soul. Given how powerful Su Fong's nascent soul was, it was only natural that it would not be affected by the will contained within the aura. However, if it were any other cultivator, the same could not be said for them. At the very least, they would be somewhat affected and their strength would fall. What a good resurrected cultivator. I'll use you to practice. Instead of retreating, Su Fong moved forward. He activated the illusory fire cloud, and a blazing flame emerged from his right palm, colliding with the corpse's palm. Peng Su Fong's palm was corroded by the corpse poison, and black smoke was sizzling out. Moreover, there was an aura of death spreading from his arm to his shoulder. What a powerful corpse poison! Su Fong hurriedly let the ghoul swallow the corpse poison. The ghoul's swallowing ability had greatly increased, and it dared to swallow anything. Naturally, the corpse poison was not a problem, and the corpse poison became its nutrients. The corpse took a few steps back and hit the wall of the burial chamber before stabilizing. One of its palms was burned to a pulp, as if it had just been fished out of a furnace. However, a gust of death quickly condensed on the corpse's injured palm, and in an instant, it recovered to its original state. Once again, it was beyond Su Fong's expectations. This corpse is immortal. Law replied in his body. In the great immortal world, there is nothing that is absolutely immortal, and resurrected cultivators are even more impossible. This corpse is just relying on the aura of death to recover its injuries, and its recovery speed is faster than human cultivators. Your attack has also weakened its strength, and if you attack the corpse's endurance, you can also kill it. Su Fong was unwilling to kill this corpse so easily. Boom boom, Boom Su Fong activated all kinds of divine abilities, constantly attacking the corpse. From the constellation of 9 heavens and other divine abilities, to the Yellow Springs Blood Sea, Blood Transformation True Body, and Giant Diamond Body. However, Su Fong did not use all of his strength. Instead, he used his continuous attacks to understand the resurrected cultivator's ability and find its weakness. It was a powerful corpse poison with a very strong, corrosive ability. Attacks could affect one's mind. It was similar to an immortal body. Amazing recovery ability. With the help of the evil aura of heaven and earth, the attacks were endless, and there was almost no consumption. The resurrected cultivator was actually so difficult to deal with. No wonder even Law said it was troublesome. However, the resurrected cultivator was not without its flaws. The fatal flaw was that its movement speed was slow, it could not release divine abilities, and its attack method was relatively simple. On the surface, the resurrected cultivator's ability is only so many. Let's look at the corpse's divine aperture and try an essence spirit attack. After a series of attempts, Su Fong had already figured out the resurrected cultivator's ability and found the corpse's weakness. Next, Su Fong prepared to look at the essence spirit attack. Second essence spirit go. A black Xian Guang burst out his eyes. Swoosh! The black Xian Guang directly drilled into the corpse's head from the empty eye sockets, almost entering the divine aperture without any resistance. This is the resurrected cultivator's magic power C. It turned out that the corpse's magic power C was completely different from the magic power C of human cultivators. There was no vast magic power, but there was something like a gray fog filled with an evil aura of death and violent evil aura. Above the magic power C, there was a white fog floating, and there was a gray shadow inside. It should be the young immortal left behind in the divine aperture after the death of the divine wave nation's royalty. No, it was not a young immortal. It was just a wisp of remnant consciousness. As if it sensed danger approaching, the shadow wriggled and swept up the death aura in the magic power sea below, forming a ferocious wave that swept towards the second essence spirit. Essence spirit's sword chi. How strong was the second essence spirit? It was a supreme essence spirit that could even fight against an immortal emperor. Why would it care about a wisp of remnant consciousness? A vast amount of essence spirit sword chi condensed, and with a series of crackling sounds, the white fog around the wisp of remnant consciousness started to collapse. Under the supreme essence spirit's power, the wisp of remnant consciousness could not do anything. Just as he was about to use the essence spirit sword chi to wipe out the wisp of remnant consciousness, Su Fong peeled off a young immortal and suddenly appeared above the magic power sea. Su Fong seemed a little excited. Don't wipe out this wisp of remnant consciousness for now. Try to see if you can use this wisp of remnant consciousness to control the corpse. Main body, that's very simple. A drop of blood from Su Fong's main body flew into the corpse's divine aperture under the protection of the essence spirit. Then, a surge of yin and yang world power surged towards the wisp of remnant consciousness. Zzz like the autumn wind sweeping up fallen leaves. Su Fong's essence spirit, blood, and yin and yang world power instantly entangled the wisp of remnant consciousness and easily refined it. Su Fong could even refine and merge the consciousness of the Dark World's Lord, let alone a wisp of remnant consciousness. It was too easy. Su Fong's eyes flashed with excitement. At this moment, Luo praised in his body. Not bad. You found the fatal weakness of the resurrection cultivator so quickly, and you even have a way to control the resurrection cultivator. The resurrection cultivator is very difficult to deal with. But because of this fatal weakness, it is very easy to deal with them if you meet a powerful essence spirit expert. Su Fong said excitedly. Although the resurrection cultivator's physical body is very strong and hard to destroy, they only rely on their wisp of remnant consciousness and instincts to control their movements. My second primordial spirit, is very powerful and can easily seize the body of a resurrection cultivator. Not only that, if my second primordial spirit uses the heavenly devil disintegration seal, it can separate wisps of consciousness and seize the bodies of many resurrection cultivators and control them to attack the enemy. If he could separate countless wisps of consciousness to control the army of resurrection cultivators, Su Fong was so excited that his whole body trembled. This method is feasible, but the number of corpses you can control can't be too many. Otherwise, no matter how powerful your second primordial spirit is, it can't bear the huge burden on your essence spirit. Moreover, when facing a real powerhouse, controlling some weak corpses is meaningless. That's right. Instead of pursuing quantity, it's better to pursue the quality of the resurrection cultivators. If I meet an immortal emperor or an immortal emperor resurrection cultivator, I can let my second primordial spirit directly seize the body. This way, I will have an incomparably powerful subordinate. Now you understand how much benefits a powerful second primordial spirit can bring you. The upheaval of the world is a catastrophe for other human cultivators, but for me, it's a huge opportunity. I must seize this opportunity and continue to grow stronger and improve my overall strength. It won't be long before I sweep through this immortal domain and flatten the heavenly Tao immortal world and the tranquil emperor's residence. I believe that the day you speak of is not too far away. Lao was also looking forward to it. Now, he firmly believed that the hope of gathering a body and a primordial spirit lay in Su Fong. The divine Wave Nation's imperial family in this tomb chamber has been resurrected. Many of the emperors and imperial family experts buried under the other mountains must have also been resurrected. I'll go out and take a look. If there are powerful corpses, I'll put them away. It's best if I can find corpses of the immortal emperor level. This way, I can kill my way out of the Imperial Mausoleum Void World. Corpses of a supreme, immortal emperor level. Of course, it was just a thought. The Divine Wave Immortal World was just a vassal force under the clear sky, Thousand Scrolls Gate. There were no real powerhouses among the emperors and imperial family. The imperial family in this tomb chamber was comparable to the elder level, which was already an extremely outstanding existence. It was impossible to find an immortal emperor-level corpse. Whoosh Su Fong put the corpse of the Divine Wave Nation's imperial family into the crucible transformation space. Then, he turned into a bloody water state and drilled out of the seal outside the tomb chamber. He summoned the Wuling Goblin and swallowed Su Fong into his stomach. Then he quickly drilled out of the crack in the mountain. Whoosh, the Wuling Goblin, who had fused with a world fragment, had greatly increased his strength and innate ability. It took him a few breaths to climb out of the mountain. Buzz, as soon as he came out of the Wuling Goblin's body, his great perfection ability suddenly sensed something. He activated his great perfection ability and scanned the area. He saw two figures coming from the left and right, respectively, towards Su Fong. It turned out that two experts were coming this way. One of the experts had a vast aura with a supreme, domineering aura. It was Lin Yihan, an expert from Emperor Ning's mansion. As for the other expert, although his face looked very unfamiliar, Su Fong's great perfection ability could clearly sense his aura. It was very familiar. It turned out to be Demonic Mountain's great master, Mo Monarch. Chapter 12:17. They originally thought that the Ba-Mo sovereign had left the inner void world of the Imperial Mausoleum with the demon experts. They didn't know if the Ba-Mo sovereign had been ordered by the demon experts to hide in the inner void world until now, or if he had secretly returned. In the tomb below the mountain, Su Fong was fighting with the resurrected Divine Water Nation's imperial family, causing quite a commotion. However, the commotion had become very weak outside the mountain. There were millions of mountains where the emperors and imperial family experts of the Divine Water Nation were buried. Logically speaking, as long as they didn't pay attention, it was unlikely that anyone would notice the commotion inside the mountain. Unexpectedly, they still couldn't hide from the two experts and rushed over. Su Fong. The two Grand Elder experts exclaimed at the same time. Then their faces were filled with ecstasy. It turned out that Su Fong had forgotten to wear a mask and didn't change his appearance, revealing his true face. Naturally, the Ba-Mo sovereign and Lin Yihan recognized him at first glance. Lin Yihan and Su Fong had met several times before, so of course he recognized Su Fong. The 8 forces were fighting for the ethereal enlightenment, and Demonic Mountain was no exception. The Ba-Mo sovereign also knew Su Fong's appearance. Now that they suddenly saw Su Fong, the two of them were pleasantly surprised. Swish, swish. The 2 experts attacked almost at the same time, leaping across the sky to attack Su Fong. As long as they captured Su Fong, it would be a great contribution to Demonic Mountain and Tranquil Emperor's residence. It was even greater than finding the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. Moreover, these 2 experts were also drooling over the true ethereal insight. As for Su Fong, the 2-world immortal realm Grand Elder experts, how could they care about a mystic immortal realm cultivator? He was just an ant. Do you think I, Su Fong, am a weak chicken that you can slaughter? Su Fong's eyes were cold, and there was also a flash of fierce killing intent. Su Fong had the experience of being hunted down by the Ba-Mo sovereign. As for Lin Yihan, the ethereal true solution had caused a constellation anomaly. Lin Yihan had led the experts from the Emperor Tranquility's residence to barge into the constellation of 9 heavens in an attempt to kidnap Su Fong. If it wasn't for the fact that the Star Palace had a large number of people and that the Great Elder had rushed over in time, the situation would have boded ill rather than well. At that time, Su Fong was indeed like a weak chicken in front of Lin Yihan, who was even stronger than the First Elder. He was like a tall mountain that Su Fong could only look up at, unable to surpass. Now, Su Fong already had the absolute strength to kill Lin Yihan. Why would he be afraid of him? Boom, however, it wasn't Su Fong who was attacked by the 2 of them. Instead, it was the collision of Sovereign Ba-Mo and Lin Yihan's auras. Lin Yihan said domineeringly, "Sovereign Ba-Mo, you dare attack me?" Sovereign Ba-Mo fiercely retorted, "Lin Yihan, Prince Ning's mansion is famous in the immortal Ao Great World. Other forces may be afraid of your Prince Ning's mansion, but my Demonic Mountain is not. It won't be long before your Prince Ning's mansion is trampled under the feet of Demonic Mountain. Sovereign Ba-Mo, who do you think you are? Why do you have to snatch someone from me? Lin Yihan, you were injured by the hidden immortal emperor of the Divine Wave Nation. How much strength do you have left now? If you don't get lost, I'll make sure you die here today." The 2 experts didn't back down at all. The weak can only be trampled on. This principle is indeed true. Su Fong was stunned. It seemed that the 2 experts really didn't take him seriously. The feeling of being ignored was somewhat uncomfortable. Demonic Mountain colluded with the Devil Race and has become the public enemy of the righteous Tao cultivators. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? Although I'm injured, I can still kill you easily. Sovereign Fist, boundless divine power. Lin Yihan activated his golden armored Tao artifact. His domineering aura surged as he charged towards Sovereign Ba-Mo step by step. The Devil Race will sweep across the celestial realm in a few days. Emperor Ning's residence will also turn into ashes sooner or later. Lin Yihan, what right do you have to be so arrogant in front of me? Let's see if the divine power of your residence or the supreme divine power of Demonic Mountain is more powerful. Ghost Demon Claw. Sovereign Ba-Mo's demonic chi exploded. He didn't back down at all. He activated the Demonic Mountain's divine power and charged toward Lin Yihan. Boom, boom, boom. 2 peerless experts at the Grand Elder level started fighting in the valley. Their demonic chi filled the sky, and their domineering auras filled the air. The scene was very lively. Su Fong was like a bystander, coldly watching the 2 of them fight with a sneer on his face. Is the land of the Emperor? Sky-covering demonic hand. 2 experts. Lin Yihan hadn't fully recovered from his injuries, and he was worried that other experts would come to snatch Su Fong away. Demonic Mountain had sided with the Devil Race and become the public enemy of the righteous Tao cultivators. Sovereign Ba-Mo didn't dare to delay for too long. Therefore, both of them had the intention to end the battle. After the initial probing attacks, they immediately launched their most powerful attacks. As Lin Yihan's aura exploded, it was as if he had become the emperor of this world. Everything in the world had to listen to his orders. He was mighty and domineering. He punched out with an astonishing divine might. Sovereign Ba Mo transformed into a heavenly demon. His ears were like bat ears, and some thick fur grew on his face. His muscles were wrapped in demonic patterns. His 5 fingers were no longer human, but a kind of claw-like existence. He activated the claw demonic artifact that had fused with his left hand. With a terrifying aura that could tear everything apart, he suddenly grabbed at Lin Yihan. When they were fighting for the heavenly radiant's unusual flame in the Huangzi astral plane, Su Fang had used the origin sacred mirror to devour his claw demonic artifact in one of his hands. Unexpectedly, not only had his hand recovered, but he had also obtained a similar demonic artifact. Moreover, it was even more powerful than the previous one. Chi! Boom! The 2 auras collided, causing a huge explosion. The 2 figures were sent flying at the same time. Lin Yihan violently vomited blood, and his aura suddenly became weak. This collision had triggered his old injuries, and he was on the verge of being seriously injured again. Sovereign Ba Mo was also not in a good state. His demonic artifact had been forcefully separated from his body. His right arm, which had fused with the demonic artifact, was badly mangled and his bones were broken. The demonic aura on his body had also become very chaotic. Suddenly, Su Fang's cold voice sounded. "Aren't you tired of fighting each other like dogs? Little ant, you dare to mock me? I can't get the tranquil emperor residence. No one can take it away from me. Even if I'm seriously injured, I can still control your life and death." Lin Yihan smiled sinisterly and attacked aggressively. His hands kept forming seals, and a supreme aura burst out. He actually planned to kill Su Fang to prevent him from falling into the hands of the heavenly demon mountain. "My life and death are controlled by me. Lin Yihan, you're also an ant in my eyes, Su Fang." Su Fang exuded a domineering aura. Although it was not as strong as Lin Yihan's, it was more domineering than Lin Yihan's. This was the result of the fusion of the purple Qi Dharma spirit and the Emperor's Qi. A weak chicken that was at the mercy of others suddenly turned into a ferocious, man-eating beast. This change was too big. Lin Yihan's eyes flashed with disbelief, and his hand seals became slower. Sovereign Ba Mo's expression also changed drastically. Whoosh! Whoosh! 3 figures appeared in front of Su Fang. They were Dai Yong, the monk, and Mao Chang. They directly attacked Sovereign Ba Mo Su Fang, then released the 2 big goblin, Sovereign Green Feather, and Bai Ling. He also formed seals with his hands and activated the Emperor's Qi to attack Lin Yihan. He planned to join forces with the 2 big goblins to deal with this expert from the Tranquil Emperor residence. Sovereign Ba Mo and Lin Yihan were stunned again. So it turned out, the prey they were fighting over was the fisherman who reaped the benefits of the fisherman. So you have so many experts and big goblin hiding around you. No wonder the experts sent by the Tranquil Emperor residence to capture you never returned. However, if you think you can threaten me and Sovereign Ba Mo with these 3 experts and 2 big goblin, don't even think about it. Heavenly Tyrant Body. Lin Yihan's Emperor's Qi exploded. Golden light flashed on his body, and 3 golden giants appeared. They were using the supreme divine ability of the Tranquil Emperor residence. It was similar to the divine ability of the Divine Emperor Divine Origin Scripture, but its aura was 10,000 times stronger. Su Fang, Sovereign Green Feather, and Bai Ling fought the 3 golden giants. Sovereign Green Feather's figure turned into a series of afterimages. He was as fast as lightning, and the golden giants could not keep up with his speed. However, it was impossible for him to defeat the golden giants in a short time. Bai Ling's body exuded a strange aura from the power of chaos. The power of chaos formed a gale around her and tangled with the golden giants. At Su Fang's side, Su Fang used the Heavenly Tyrant Emperor spell to fight the golden giants. Although the Heavenly Tyrant Emperor spell that Su Fang had obtained was only the outer part, It could not compare to the inner part that Lin Yihan had cultivated, and his cultivation realm was much lower than Lin Yihan's. However, the purple Qi Dharma spirit had fused with the Emperor's Qi, and it had also devoured a large amount of divine below immortal world's will and faith power. The Emperor's Qi was extremely domineering, and it suppressed Lin Yihan's Emperor's Qi. In addition, Lin Yihan was seriously injured, and his divine abilities' power was at most half. The golden giant fighting Su Fong was suppressed by Su Fong, and it was crushed in less than 10 breaths. It turned into Emperor's Qi and dissipated into the void. Heavenly Tyrant Body. Lin Yihan was shocked and panicked. He quickly used a defense, burning the Emperor's Qi and forming a domineering domain around him. Who knew? Su Fong's eyes shot out a black Xian Guang that crossed the distance and went straight for Lin Yihan's forehead. Primordial Spirit Attack. Divine abilities and Dao artifacts could not defend against primordial spirit attacks. Lin Yihan was shocked, and he quickly used his Divine Aperture's defense to block Lin Yihan's second primordial spirit outside his Divine Aperture for a moment. After all, he was a Grand Elder, and his Divine Aperture's defense was very strong. Su Fong did not really want Lin Yihan's second primordial spirit to occupy his Divine Aperture. The real attack was yet to come. While Lin Yihan's second primordial spirit attacked, it also released the heavenly devil blood plate, which floated above Lin Yihan's head. It released demonic qi and divine might, which surged into Lin Yihan's surroundings. Lin Yihan's divine aperture instantly collapsed. Lin Yihan's second primordial spirit broke through his defenses and controlled primordial spirit chains to bind Lin Yihan's yang immortal shackles. Lin Yihan seemed to fall into a deep sleep. Su Fong smiled coldly and put him into the heavenly devil blood plate. From Su Fong's attack to subduing Lin Yihan, the whole process only took a dozen breaths. Over at Sovereign Ba Mo's side, under Dai Yong and the great monk's ferocious attacks, the heavenly devil mountain's leader could not fight back at all. He also could not escape, so he could only bitterly hold on. Qi, the immortal piercing blade, which carried a destructive aura, was like a silver line. Sovereign Ba Mo had just used his defensive divine ability to try and stop it, but the silver line pierced his chest at an incredible speed. His organs shattered, and he fell to the ground, heavily injured before being sealed by Dai Yong. It turned out that the expert Mao Chong had taken the opportunity to use the immortal piercing blade to attack Sovereign Ba Mo, and it was really effective. Su Fong rushed over and sucked Sovereign Ba Mo into the Crucible Transformation Array. Then, with a wave of his hand, he sucked Dai Yong and the other experts, as well as the big goblin, into his palm and disappeared. After doing all this, Su Fong urged the flame cloud wings and soared into the sky with a whoosh. Swish! Swish! After a dozen or so breaths of time, figures flew over from the sky. It turned out that the commotion here had attracted many experts. However, what they saw was a mess. No one knew what had happened. What was even more unexpected was that the Ba Mo monarch and the peerless expert of the Emperor Ning's mansion, Lin Yihan, would actually be subdued by a profound immortal cultivator. Chapter 12:18. Su Fong captured Lin Yihan and Sovereign Ba Mo alive and prepared to leave the void world inside the Imperial Mausoleum. However, when he saw the destroyed array exit and countless cultivators guarding it, he had no choice but to give up and find a canyon to descend. When he found a cave on the mountain, Su Fong immediately flashed inside. After setting up an array, he perfectly concealed his aura. His main body sat down cross-legged, swallowed a pill, peeled off a young immortal, and entered the void world. Lin Yihan and Sovereign Ba Mo's primordial spirits were shackled, and their bodies were controlled by the Crucible Transformation Array. Not to mention resisting, they didn't even have the chance to self-destruct. The great monk Shangde, the Ghost Dao's 5 freaks, and other experts surrounded them as if they were looking at 2 monkeys. Sovereign Ba Mo was fine, but Lin Yihan was an expert even stronger than the great monk. He was famous in the immortal AO Great World. Now that he was captured alive by Su Fong, they were naturally very excited. Looking at Su Fong, Lin Yihan and Sovereign Ba Mo's eyes were filled with disbelief and despair. Su Fong sneered. "Are the two of you surprised?" How could they not be surprised? One of them was a big shot from the demonic mountain, while the other was an expert from the Tranquil Emperor's residence. Both of them belonged to the ranks of experts in the immortal region, and they were eager to snatch Su Fong's ethereal true insight. However, both of them ended up in his hands, especially Lin Yihan. Back then, he forced his way into the constellation of Nine Heavens encampment and almost swept through the constellation of Nine Heavens experts. Now, he fell into the hands of a disciple of the constellation of Nine Heavens and became meat on the chopping board. One could imagine how he felt. If you want to live, you must submit to me, recognize me as your master, and become an expert under me. You'll have a chance to regain your freedom in the future. If you want to die, you won't die so easily. Your physical body, true chi, and essence will all be mine. Life or death, you choose. Su Fong looked down at the two, his voice filled with supreme dominance. Lin Yihan and Sovereign Ba and Mo glanced at each other, then laughed at the same time, as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. Submit to you? You want me to be your subordinate? Experts had their own pride. To make them submit to a cultivator of the Xian immortal realm, whose cultivation was so much lower than theirs, was worse than killing them. How could they submit to him so easily? If you want to kill me, just do it. There is no one in the Emperor Ning's mansion who betrayed the supreme Emperor Ning. I, Lin Yihan, am famous in the immortal Ao Grand World. I will not submit to an ant. Lin Yihan's voice was loud and proud. No one in Emperor Ning's mansion has betrayed Emperor Ning. Come out, Yin Mo. Su Fong shouts coldly. Yin Mo greets Master. Yin Mo walked out from the side and bowed to Su Fong. Lin Yihan widened his eyes in anger. Yin Mo, how dare you betray the supreme Emperor Ning? Lord Lin Yihan, Master is not 10 times or even 100 times more unfathomable than you think. He will definitely become the Emperor of Tranquility in the future. Submitting to him won't be a disgrace to your strength. On the contrary, it will be your honor. Submit to him. Not only will you be able to live, but you will also get unexpected benefits. Yin Mo persuaded. During this period of time, Yin Mo had a certain understanding of Su Fong's overall strength. He was even more in awe of Su Fong. Moreover, he had obtained all kinds of cultivation resources that he could never have had in Emperor Ning's mansion, including Shangyang immortal Qiong pills. Even Emperor Ning's mansion could not afford them. Therefore, he no longer had any disloyalty. You shameless slave who betrayed Master. How dare you persuade me? When I catch you, I will make you wish you were dead. Lin Yihan was like an angry lion. His eyes were about to spit fire, and his teeth were about to shatter. He wanted nothing more than to swallow Yin Mo whole. You're hopeless. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Second, primordial spirit. A black Xian Guang pierced through the void. With a bang, it shook the back of Lin Yihan's head until it slightly twisted. Then it forcefully drilled into the depths of his mind. Lin Yihan's yang immortal primordial spirit was shackled by layers of shackles. The second primordial spirit's power was extremely shocking. It directly crushed the yang immortal and merged with his consciousness. 4 or 5 breaths later, Lin Yihan's body suddenly stopped trembling. He suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a cold light. True body, this person's strength is not bad. He is barely qualified to be my host. Then do as you wish. I want the inner part of the tyrannical emperor's heaven-soaring art. I've merged with his consciousness. It's very easy for me to extract the tyrannical emperor's heaven-soaring art. Second primordial spirit, true body, body possession. Is this person a demon or a devil? Even if he is a devil, he doesn't have such unimaginable divine abilities. Reverence and fear appeared in the eyes of Sovereign Ba Mo of the celestial Devil Mountain's big shot. Master, leave this devil Dao cultivator to me. I guarantee you that I'll take care of him. Sovereign Zhu flashed out from formation on one side and gave Sovereign Ba Mo a very sinister smile. It doesn't matter if he doesn't submit. Just let Gue swallow him. Su Fong waved his hand. Whoosh, Gui's figure appeared beside Sovereign Ba Mo. His terrifying and evil appearance scared Sovereign Ba Mo of the Celestial Devil Mountain so much that he started to tremble. His back was drenched in cold sweat. However, it was obviously impossible for him to open his mouth and submit now. Sovereign Zhu left with Sovereign Ba Mo. He would definitely be tortured again. Recalling Sovereign Zhu's cruel methods, Yin Mo shuddered. This Sovereign Ba Mo was really unlucky. This is the inner part of the tyrannical emperor's heaven-soaring art. Take it and cultivate. Su Fong suddenly threw out a rune talisman. It turned out his second primordial spirit had already extracted the mental cultivation method of the tyrannical emperor's heaven-soaring art from fusing with Lin Yihan's consciousness. Yin Mo sent a strand of his consciousness into the rune talisman to take a look. He was so excited that his body immediately trembled. In Emperor Ning's mansion, only the imperial people and the experts who had made great contributions to the mansion were qualified to cultivate the inner part of the tyrannical emperor's heaven-soaring art. At his level, it was basically impossible for him to obtain it, and he could only cultivate the outer part. Thank you very much, Master. I'm willing to go through water and tread on fire for you in the future. Yin Mo saluted again. This time he was really sincere. Su Fong said indifferently, "You can ask the other experts. I've never treated my subordinates as slaves, let alone cannon fodder. As long as you're loyal to me, not only will you get the inner part of the tyrannical emperor's heaven-soaring art, you'll also get even more resources that you didn't even dare to think about in Emperor Ning's mansion." "Yes, I understand." Rumble. The valley where Su Fong was in suddenly shook violently. He hurriedly walked out of the cave and flew into the sky. He saw that a mountain peak below had collapsed. Rocks rolled down, creating a series of loud rumbles and shaking the earth and mountains. Another corpse has come back to life. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. He could control the resurrected cultivators to increase his overall strength. At the same time, when Su Fong possessed Lin Yihan's body, a towering figure walked out of the void and appeared at the place where Ba Mo Monarch and Lin Yihan had disappeared. This person was tall and mighty, with a vast emperor's chi and supreme domineering aura, like a supreme emperor. He was Emperor Ying of Emperor Ning's mansion. It turned out that Emperor Ying had sensed that Lin Yihan's aura had suddenly disappeared, so he directly broke through the void and came here. Standing in the air, his hale and hearty eyes swept over the area below with disdain. Lin Yihan's aura has completely disappeared. Could it be that he was killed by someone? Lin Yihan's strength is extraordinary. In this void world of the imperial tombs, other than the Divine Wave Nation's imperial palace's servants, even the devil race's experts would have to transform into the heavenly devil body if they wanted to kill him. Emperor Ying released his sensing ability to carefully sense the remaining aura. His sword-like eyebrows rose sharply. There's devil chi, Yao chi, and an emperor's chi that's completely different from Lin Yihan's. How strange. After a few breaths, Emperor Ying suddenly released a dense emperor's chi. A divine might covered the entire valley below, as if he was the supreme ruler of this region. He reached out with his hand, and Xian Guang of various colors shot out from the cracks in the ground, the grass, and the void, landing in his hand. It turned out that this person had used the path of the Emperor's peerless divine ability to tyrannically control everything in this region, including every blade of grass, every tree, and even everything in this territory. Then, by absorbing all kinds of auras, he obtained information from them and roughly deduced what had happened here. Lin Yihan and Sovereign Ba Mo were actually captured by someone. Who was this person? A Xian immortal cultivator who can control so many experts and Big Goblin? Unfortunately, I can't see his face clearly. His aura is similar to the tyrannical emperor's heaven-soaring art, but it's even more powerful. Who is this person? In this immortal region, which force cultivates the path of the emperor that can surpass my supreme Tranquility Emperor's residence. Emperor Ying's eyes were filled with disbelief. No matter who it is, once I obtain your aura, No matter where you run, you won't be able to escape death. Supreme Tranquility Emperor's Residence. Supreme Emperor's Qi. How can I allow others to offend you? Emperor Ying's eyes were cold. He sensed Su Fang's aura and suddenly flew out. Above a mountain peak, Yi Mei, who had appeared as a palace attendant, arrived with a dozen or so expert puppets. These puppets included the newly ascended emperor of the Divine Wave Nation and a heavenly devil from the Devil World. Before this, Yi Mei had used his powerful primordial spirit to control this heavenly devil from the Devil World, making him one of his heavenly devil puppets. Yi Mei looked at the heavenly devil and said coldly, "You said that the Devil's Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal was stolen by a Xian immortal human cultivator?" The heavenly devil bowed and replied, "Master, this is absolutely true. Furthermore, this person has always been here and hasn't left." Yi Mei looked at the new emperor of the Divine Wave Nation. "You are now the emperor of the Divine Wave Nation and have fused with the will of the Divine Wave Immortal World. Your senses are unparalleled. Since this person is still in the void world inside the Imperial Mausoleum, how can you not sense his existence?" He hurriedly replied, "This subordinate can't sense him at all. Since this person can control the formation barrier, his control over the will of the Divine Wave Immortal World and the power of faith is too much for this subordinate to sense his existence. Useless person, what's the use of keeping you?" Yi Mei's eyes suddenly flashed with a gray and distorted light. The imprint in the new emperor's divine aperture trembled slightly. His physical body quickly withered and turned into a dried corpse at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, he turned into ashes and scattered in all directions. The imprint drilled into Yi Mei's forehead with a whoosh. It turned out that Yi Mei had directly controlled the new emperor through the consciousness of the imprint. He burned his life and physical essence to communicate with the will of the Divine Wave Immortal World to capture Su Fang's aura. "Found him. He's 100 miles southwest of here." Yi Mei's eyes flashed with a faint black light. An expert from the Tranquility Emperor's residence and Yi Mei, both of whom were immortal emperors, rushed towards Su Fang one after another.